control. Politicians and celebrities make deals behind closed doors, promises broken, and their income soars. Hidden agendas run the grand parade. In the circus, choose a masquerade. Believe me, I wouldn't lie. I've been given money, power, and fame to keep you in line.
I was on mute, sorry. Welcome everyone. Today we will be talking about, is the economy going in the tank? Is this the worst time to be alive financially? Can you make it out of poverty? And more. So we'll be watching this debate. Yes, I have straight hair and Superius is not here. So we'll see if he makes it. But anyways, so we'll be talking about this debate from the Diary of a CEO. We'll be reviewing it. It is going viral. It has been out for quite some time, but I've only seen tons of clips and I keep trying to make it a point to go watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. So I'm going to watch it and react to it with you guys. And if Simperius drags his ass in here, then he drags his ass in here. And if not, totally fine. But before we begin, I found this video online and it's hilariously disturbing. So you all are going to watch it with me. Sound off, of course, because I think there's like music or something. So this is an OnlyFans model showing off her new home and bragging about the 250,000 men who helped paid for it through subscribing to her online page. So this is like what you could get if you're a cute girl right now in the world. So you don't need to like go to college or do anything. Just start a little OnlyFans and hope for the best. Look at this. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Look what you can get. So anyways, that is how easy it is to make it in America. So I don't know what anybody's talking about the economy. All you got to do is a little shaky shake, and that's all you need these days. So people complain too much, right? Like all people do is complain. Anyways, so yes, I know. I don't shake it, and that's why I'll never make it if you don't shake it. All right, where is... All right, so this is the video. So we're going to watch it together. I'm going to skip ahead some parts because not everything is worth listening to, but we'll decide together. And again, I do not know anything about the economy. I'm just a regular person. They might be talking about Britain's economy, but I think they're pretty much similar. I see the same things going on here as over there. It's like a big mess in the whole Western world, in the whole world in general. I mean, let's watch.
I'm sick of multimillionaires telling kids who can't afford to turn the heating on, you just need to be more entrepreneurial. It's sick, Dan, it's sick.
Well, your video where you talk about if you don't have a rich dad, you're screwed. Well, to me, if I had have come across your content at 19, 20 years old, I would have been screwed.
My friends can't feed their kids, okay? If it was that easy, why is everybody not doing it?
I'll tell you why people aren't doing it. It's because...
Can I just say one thing back on that?
Today's debate is fiery to say.
I love the host is like, oh no. Okay, let's see. How do I freaking just get the... I think I'm going to make it a little bit faster too on the playback speed. The heck? There we go.
place called Ilford, which is in outer East London. Quite a poor family, little terrace house by the railway, you know, playing football in the streets kind of stuff. Always very good at maths since I was a kid, very talented maths student. Eventually able to get into the London School of Economics, which is an extremely elite university, economics university in the centre of London, which is basically a kind of investment banking bootcamp. Got a job as a trader. Started working full-time as a short-term interest rates trader at Citibank in London in June 2008. When I was 21, obviously, yeah, exactly. That's just before the big credit crash, the big Lehman crisis. And I watched the Lehman crisis happen in front of my eyes. I was short-term interest rate trading is basically like short-term loans. And during the credit crisis, what a credit crisis is nobody can borrow any money. So like short-term loans become really, really important. My desk, which was like historically an unfashionable area of trading, became like the center of the crisis, or one of the centers of the crisis. People started making tons of money. I was working with all these crazy people. And you can imagine me, like I turn up 21 years old, and then like within 3 months, like everyone around me is making a ton of money during the credit crisis. But what really interested me was what happened after the crisis itself, which was, so we're betting on interest rates. Long story short, interest rates come down when the economy is weak, and they go up when the economy is strong or when the economy is overheating from an inflation perspective. In 2008, all the interest rates go to zero. So suddenly, our job is basically predicting and betting on when will those interest rates go back up, which is when will the economy recover. And this is super interesting. Right? In 2008, because all the interest rates went to zero so quickly, like before 2008, it's important to remember, rates would move from like 5.5 to 5.25. And then here in 2008, everywhere in the world slashing to zero.
Boom, 0.5%.
Exactly. And everybody, all the economists were like, wow, this is going to cause a massive recovery, because they thought that interest rates were powerful. And everybody predicted that rates would come back up in 2009, which of course we now know they didn't. Then everybody predicted that rates would go up in 2010, which we now know they didn't. And then at the beginning of 2011, everybody was predicting rates will definitely go up this year. And this to me was so interesting.
No, it's never enough time to eat. Oh, you want to see my plate, guys? This is what I'll be munching on. Yes. So we got a nice steak. We got some asparagus. And we got a garlic butter sauce on the steak. And then we have thinly sliced radishes and seasonings with lemon juice. Soaking it up. So that is what we'll be eating today while we watch the heated debate. Yeah, it's probably like a 3 to 4 hour meal. So I'm going to try to do it by 9. I'm trying to actually end by 8:45. That's my goal to stop eating. So let's see what happens. Okay, we're going to Grid 1's debate after this. I don't know what the debate is, what the topic is. All I know is that there is one, and they told me to go. But like, this is why I suck at debates too, because nobody tells me what we're going to talk about. And then I get there and I'm like, I don't know. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to suck, but I'm going to try to do a couple minutes. Don't know what I'm for or against yet, but 20 different okay, so it's like a surprise topic debate. Okay, I mean, a lot of things I don't have opinions on, so I'll just pick a random one and we'll see. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right, so this is who this guy is. I feel like we got a good idea who he is. Let's move on to who the other guy is, because I don't know who this guy is. The ears guy.
Started a couple of software companies. One of our companies is now one of the fastest growing companies in the UK. We're a software business. I've got a couple of agencies. I've got an education and training business.
And when you think about the UK and broadly the Western world today, what is your assessment of where we're at as a country and what's concerning you? Because Gary expressed quite articulately that his big concern is that because of wealth inequality, we're going to end up in a similar position to the likes of India. What are you concerned about?
I agree that it wasn't that long ago that we had real serious wealth inequality in this country. There are amazing photos from 100 years ago of kids working in mines and kids doing oyster shucking and all this horrible work. And, there's a book Charles Dickens wrote called The Tale of Two Cities. And the opening line.
Okay, first I just want to say that Florida is reversing child labor laws. So we're very excited here to send the children to the mines. We have been waiting for this for a long time. So if you guys have any children or you plan to have children in the future and you want to make sure that they are bringing in a family income, you can move down to Florida pretty soon. I don't know when it takes into effect, but that should be really good. That's on the books. Now, the freaking mayor did not, I think what's it called? DeSantis is what? He's not the mayor. The governor. The governor wanted to pass through getting rid of fluoride, and the stupid mayor, who's obviously bought and paid for, decided to like stop that, veto that or whatever. I guess she has power. This is ridiculous. How hard is it to just get rid of the freaking poison? And of course, you go on the Twitter and it's nothing but a whole bunch of nasty bots talking about how like science won and all this garbage propaganda bullcrap, when we all know there's no science saying fluoride is good for you. There's natural fluoride in the environment, and then there's a chemical waste that they came up with and called it fluoride. Kind of similar, but it's not. Just because you call, like, if I have a steak and I call it chicken, does that make the steak chicken? I don't know. Apparently, according to the science, it does. So now that's what we're dealing with. Anyways, good luck finding good studies now, because freaking the mayor of Florida is some chick. I don't like her. No.
Line of the book is, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I think we've actually gotten to that point here where some people in the UK, it's the best of times. If you, like in your situation, you're booming, you're a globally successful business. I've got a globally successful business. And then there are a lot of people who completely cannot relate to this. Energy prices are now the most expensive in the Western world. House prices are completely unaffordable. It used to take 3 years to save for a deposit. It's now 20 years if you theoretically 20 years if you can save for a deposit. Food prices are through the roof. So we're in a really difficult, like for anyone who is...
Eggs are $10, all right? I don't know what it's like where you guys live. Eggs are that's almost $1 an egg. And they're not even like free range, what's it called? Regenerative pasture raised, not on a vegan diet. FYI, chickens are not vegan. So if they say vegan diet, then it's not free range even. It's not pasture raised, because if they were in the pasture, they would be eating bugs, because that's what they're supposed to eat. As someone who's raised many chickens, they are violent velociraptors. And I have seen my girls each grab a foot and a tail of a rat and violently rip it apart in front of my, and I'm just like, well, oh my goodness. I have seen a rat explode. They're not vegan. Please do not call chickens vegans. They're not just cannibals. Well, they might be a little. No, wait. They're not just cannibals. They're not just meat eaters. They are violent. Like, I hope dinosaurs were not like this, because you can't even. They just grab one cow's leg and one other and just. Anyways, so chickens should not be on vegan feed. That's a red flag, and it's gonna make you sick. If the chicken is sick, guess what? You're sick. But if the chicken is healthy and strong, you become healthy and strong. This is not hard. Anyways, thank you. So it's not that big a deal to have chickens, and then you can avoid $10 a week just by having chickens. They just eat your leftovers, and they will eat any bugs in your yard. We have a very teensy tiny yard, and it's totally fine. Your dentist is a bought and paid for shill. That's it. Anyways, that's called white coat syndrome. That's when you trust this.
Is not tapped into digital economy, fast growth, and all of that sort of stuff. Life is getting harder and worse, and things are collapsing. If you would go with that. There's a predictable path countries go on, and there's this thing called the Economic Freedom Index. And the Economic Freedom Index basically says, how economically free are you? How much access do you have to free markets? Can you start a business? Can you scale a business? Does anything inhibit your ability to run your own life? Countries that have high degrees of economic freedom have very low poverty. They have widespread affluence. And countries that have low economic freedoms have high poverty. And it can be the difference between less than 10% right up to 70%.
Okay, so what he's saying here is how easy it is to start a business is how good your economy is, right? I guess this is what he's saying. But the place that's the easiest to start a business is, I think, Singapore right now. Singapore actually learned from the US before we had all the bureaucratic red tape. And they realized that if you can have, like, it's very easy for people to start businesses without all this red tape, without all this stupid regulation. Oh, you need to have this. You need to have something overseeing this. If you just make it so people can just start with what they have with very little down, they don't need to spend $1 billion to freaking open an account, to freaking get an LLC or open a corp or whatever. All these things that create a lot of barriers in front. they made it so easy in Singapore. And just like that, it became one of the best. And I think it is now the fastest growing economy, or one of the best, has the most economic freedom, because it's super easy to start a business and scale the business. But also, they were allowing everyone from all over the world to come in to open businesses. So they were actually like inviting people to come in and start businesses for like very low to no cost and make it very easy. But that doorway has since closed. Enough people went through and enough people haven't. I believe it's one of the best passports now in the world. I think it is Singapore. I believe it's Singapore. So now the thing about Singapore, it's also one of, well, actually everywhere around the world, every city around the world is one of those C14 or whatever smart cities. So you're going to be tracked. It is what it is. It's happening, guys. I don't think you realize that, but it's going to be really close to happening everywhere. I think they might even make, I can't imagine in 5 years they're going to be able to like destroy all of us and be able to put up their surveillance cities like they wanted, but they might be.
% poverty rates. And when countries go on a path towards economic freedom, poverty just drops. So India, for example, has been on that path, and they announced today that they've almost eradicated abject poverty or extreme poverty. The UK went on that path of low economic freedom to high economic freedom, and we saw poverty rates come right down. But in 2008, when the global financial crisis happened, one of the things that happened is the government said, we need to step in and we need to take charge. And everyone said, please do. So they came in and they said, all right, we're going to ramp up debt, ramp up taxes to pay for the debt. And we're also going to put all regulations in. And unfortunately, that starts to reduce economic freedom. Then the pandemic happens and they say, oh, we're going to spend more money again through debt. We're going to have more taxes, more regulations, less economic freedom. So the UK, we went from an 82, when I arrived in 2006, we went from 82 out of 100 down to 68 out of 100. So we're less economically free. And predictably, what we will always see happen, if you lower people's economic freedom, more poverty, less affluence, the millionaires and the wealth creators leave, the people who are stuck in dead-end jobs or no jobs get incredibly frustrated. Everyone starts looking for someone to blame. People are angry and they're like, who do we blame?
And who do they blame?
It's very different because in the US, US blame someone different to the UK. So we have a historical cultural memory. In the UK, we have a cultural memory that the people to blame are the rich. So we have landlords and aristocracy and the landed gentry. Those guys are to blame, right? So blame the rich is what we say in the UK. In the US, they have a very different view. Their cultural memory is that they're anti-government. They want limited government. In 2023, there was this song that came out called Rich Men North of Richmond. And it was the number.
That was my favorite song, and I would play it whenever Steven was doing any type of work. I would play it really loud, like boombox, you know. What's like and your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxing no end, 'cause of rich men north of Richmond. Oh my god. Anyways, so
number one song in America. And the lyrics of the song basically says, people in Washington do not care about working people. They are taxing everything we touch. You can't earn money. They depreciate the dollar. They tax, and they want to control our lives. Those are the lyrics of the songs, controlling our lives and taxing us. So the American reaction to this is, who's to blame? Government. So we want smaller government. We want a Department of Government Efficiency to come in. We want someone as a wrecking ball who will come in and smash government. The British instinct is hate the rich. It must be the rich's fault. So when we look for, like all of the Western countries that implemented lower economic freedoms, created more poverty, less affluence, and more disruption to their economies. So both US and UK, for example, and Australia as well, but both sides of the pond want someone to blame. It's just that the Americans blame government and we blame the rich.
Gary, I'm sure you have a lot to say there. I know you both use the word collapsing, so you agree that there's a problem here, but I think you, from studying both of your sort of perspectives, you think that the solution and the cause of the problem is different.
I mean, I put bets on. That's what I do. I put bets on. At the beginning of COVID, we knew the government's going to give an enormous amount of money out. Total amount of money now. UK government deficit since the beginning of COVID is £1 trillion. US number is $14 trillion. That's £20,000 per UK adult. My background is I understand that when the distribution gets worse, when inequality gets worse, living standards fall. So when the UK government was going to give £1 trillion out, all I wanted to know was who's going to end up with that money. That's all I wanted to know. And I mean, the US number, 13 trillion, 14 trillion, it's just outlandish. But I think the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my whole life was that at the beginning of COVID, the very beginning of COVID, we knew governments across the world were going to be giving out tens of trillions of pounds, dollars, euros. Nobody even thought to ask who's going to get tens of trillions richer. Nobody in the
where does it end up?
Conservatives, nobody in Labour, nobody in the Republicans, nobody in Democrats, nobody in the media, nobody in academia, nobody in central banks. Nobody asked this. It's almost beautiful. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So I sat down and I did the analysis at the beginning. Because lockdown is essentially banning the spending of the rich and replacing that spending of the rich with printed money from government.
Okay, you guys remember for lockdown, it was you can only go to corporate places like Target, freaking Walmart, you know, like the big chain grocery stores. Meanwhile, the mom and pop grocery stores were like too unsafe to go to. This was all by design. It was designed to steal all the wealth from small businesses. Small businesses are what make economies strong. If you don't have small businesses and people to get employment from small businesses, not just big mega corporations, which is basically intertwined with the government, because you know how like megacorps lobby the government for policies. So you can actually cancel someone if they work for a megacorp. And if you have no choice but to work for a megacorp, you can get canceled and not be able to have employment anywhere. But the thing that's keeping them from being able to cancel us, the thing that's in their way stopping them, is small business. Small business is a line in the stand between basically like a techno-feudalism, where you have a few tech lords, and then everybody else has to work for one of the megacorps owned by one of the tech lords, and they're intertwined with government, so they're one and the same. And then you have a surveillance state. Anytime you say anything bad about the government or the corporation, which is the same, it's one and the same, then you lose your ability to make money, you lose your ability to bank, you lose your ability to travel, you lose everything. And they can do that only if there's no small businesses. So this was step one of the plan, to destabilize and remove as many small businesses as they could. The problem, they were trying, but it wasn't a good try. You know why? Because enough people fought back, which was what we needed. There was a lot of people that fought, and you know what? I don't think they thought we would fight back that hard. So what happened, I know here, is because a lot of the people in South Florida are from Venezuela. When that went to hell, they all came here, immigrated here, and Cuba, when that went to hell, they all immigrated here, and you know, whatever, all of this stuff. Since they came here, the people who run South Florida and the city and stuff like that, and most of Florida, they are either immigrants themselves or children of immigrants that remember hearing stories from their parents and grandparents or whatever about how it happens. And how it always happens is government takes control of the businesses. And they would tell us stories about how Castro would walk around the streets, and if he saw a really nice business, he would say, who owns that business? And they'd be like, oh, this family over here, not anymore. Now give it to my general, or like my third in command, or whatever. And then his family will have that business free and clear. And whoever owned it, they were out of luck, because guess what? They had to leave, they had to give it up. And now these people are impoverished. There's no way for them to open and build another business. They took those rights away. And then it was just like people were eating like whatever, what's it called, hand to mouth, whatever. So they had to tote the line to get their little government tokens. Everybody got the same amount. It didn't matter if you were a doctor. It didn't matter if you were a cleaner. You got the same amount of money per day. And you would go to the government store, and the government grocery store would have whatever it had, and it would be like empty. And you could get like a certain amount of ounces of milk only if you had an infant in the house. That's it. There was no way you could get more. And the people who seemed to do well when this happened, well, first of all, if you had any money, you were out of there. You were immigrating to another country, period. So the people who stayed behind were the very poor that didn't have any extra money to go anywhere. So they were screwed. Yeah, socialism, right? So, but it's going to be, for us, it's going to be kind of like socialism, but techno-feudalism, where you have, you know, like what I said. That's what I think they're going towards. Anyways, so the people who lived in farms, who had a lot of land, and you had to farm the land, they actually turned out doing pretty well, because for the most part, they couldn't just give that land to like whatever general or general's family or whatever. Castro wanted to do that because they wouldn't know how to run the property, run the land. So they had to just kind of like leave it with them, which is great because now those people are like the only ones that like ate well, survived. They were not like having to wait, go to those stores and stuff like that. But it is what it is. So I'm just letting you guys know that, because if something like that ever happens here, but you're one of those lucky people who has your own land, your own farm, and you can run that stuff, you are safer. It's less likely that they can take it from you. Now, what they can do is say you have to give them X amount, or what they can do is just say you're not allowed to sell it anymore, or you'll be fined, or you're not allowed to give it away or whatever. And then that could stop it. But at least you and your family should be able to eat. Shut up, you guys.
What happens is the government gives workers money. They use that money to pay their bills, to pay their rent, pay their mortgage. It goes to the rich. The rich can't spend it because they're locked indoors. And what you get is essentially an enormous amount of money from the government to the poor, to the rich. And this massive, massive transfer of wealth. That was so obviously going to happen at the beginning of COVID. Nobody discussed it, which I think is itself amazing. Let me ask you a question, right? If we were now to pause the economy for 2 years, and during that pause, massively increase wealth inequality, what do you think would happen to broad living conditions when we unpaused?
Well, see, one of the things that I think happened during the pandemic is everything went digital. And entrepreneurs and investors did actually think about what would happen. The investors immediately boomed stocks like Zoom and Microsoft, and we ended up with the Magnificent Seven. I don't know if there's 7 big tech companies in the USA market, and those big 7 companies have gone from 5 trillion valuation to 17 trillion valuation in the time of the pandemic. And if you think about what did the pandemic do, everyone had to work from home, so we all had to have Microsoft subscriptions. Everyone went onto websites, so we all went to AWS, Amazon. We all started buying and learning how to buy from Amazon rather than buying from our local high streets. Every business in the world figured out how to run their business remotely. We had this massive transformation. It's actually a wholesale transformation of society that we all learned.
Look at this asswipe. Look how excited he is. So many people lost their job. Oh, but it was a great, massive so many people no longer have social skills and agoraphobia and mental health disorders. So many marriages were just being held together because you didn't have to look at each other so much, so you could still kind of make it through. We're completely upended because the stupid pandemic. But wow, I just look at his ears.
How to live and work differently. I saw a boom in entrepreneurship. So what I saw as an entrepreneur accelerator, someone who runs an entrepreneur accelerator, is just there was this sudden boom in people launching businesses, setting up Shopify accounts, setting up YouTube businesses. So the money really has moved from the traditional economy, the 2019 high street economy, over to the digital economy. And what we see is that the investors know what's going on, and they just invest in this Magnificent Seven company. I think 50% of the gains of the S&P 500 is tech companies. So all the money just goes flooding into the technology companies. My belief is that technology is really dividing people. That essentially, if you take anyone from any background, if they work in technology, if they're in media, tech, finance, any of that stuff that operates online, they tend to actually do pretty well after the pandemic.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think the average Brit, American, Australian, wherever the person out there is watching, if they quit their job and go work in tech, do you think they'll be able to get financial security relatively easily?
Depends when you define financial security. The issue with house prices,
The ability to raise a family, have a home.
Yeah. So having a home is a big issue, right? So here's what I see with houses, because houses annoy me as well. My dad bought a house for $18,000, which is about £10,000 or less than £10,000, and it's probably worth over $1 million today. So something went wrong, and this, by the way, is not UK specific. The socialist countries had house prices go through the roof. If you go to Norway or Sweden, their house prices grew by 600%.
It's happening everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's not specific to anywhere. It's happening everywhere.
But what happened? What has definitely happened.
My house was like mid 200s. It's a 3-2. It's like a tiny starter. This was supposed to be a starter home. Now it's like $670,000 for this tiny little itty bitty. So my community, which was just a bunch of starter homes and retired people who they made their money. They just wanted like a cheap, small home. They were downsizing to like a small starter home. Or if you were just a young family starting, that's all the people who bought in my neighborhood. And now, since it's so freaking expensive, imagine like a 200,000 goes to like almost 700,000. It's just a few years. This is ridiculous, guys. This is absolutely insane. The property taxes, Florida's pretty good with it. They did not go up that much, but kinda, but still not that bad. And DeSantis is talking about removing property taxes. So I hope that happens because it's ridiculous. But of course, we pay in other things. We pay state tax or something on products when you buy them, city tax and stuff like that. It's not that much. I think it's like 8%. And I know that there's a lot of tolls, and the tolls are very expensive. And a lot of people who don't live in places with tolls get really pissed off because if you have a commute, now we're talking like $5, $6, $7, $10 a day or $20 a day. Like that's going to add up more than the property tax. So you're getting screwed anyways. It is what it is. But anyways, so now nobody can really move, right? So the big increase for the property taxes made some of like the poorer younger families have to leave, have to sell. And what they did was they're like, well, it's worth so much. I'll sell, I'll make a profit, and then I'll move to a cheaper area and I can work online. And what ended up happening, unfortunately, to a lot of them was they moved to cheaper areas with no like economic opportunities so that they can kind of maintain the same standard of living. And then after the pandemic ceased, these people were not able to find local employment, and a lot of them lost their jobs. So it wasn't like a really good thing. So then they're stuck in a place with not that much not that much jobs, not that much opportunities. And it became really difficult to find online employment. Like recently, like a couple years after the pandemic, I believe like the online employment boom just kind of like fizzled out. There's like a bunch of jobs, but they usually don't really give them. They just keep from what I hear from people in different companies is that they'll keep the job listing up and say they can't find anyone, so that one employee would have to do like 5 jobs and they'll be all stressed out. They're like, we're trying to find someone. But the reality is they're going to make you do 3 times as much work because there's so little job prospects right now. So a lot of what you see on these websites are fake jobs. It's really crappy.
What happened in the UK is we actually have a housing traffic jam. So in this country, in the UK, we have 9.5 million homes that have 2 or more spare bedrooms. Big family homes have 2 or more spare bedrooms. And when you look into who owns those houses, 78% of housing wealth is baby boomers. And now, anecdotally, I take my kids trick-or-treating at Halloween, and we go down a street that is big family homes, and you go knock on the doors, and it's all people over 65, right? And they're living in a big family home with empty spare bedrooms.
You think the average American over 65 is living luxuriously?
The average American over 65, so more than half of the US economy is in the hands of baby boomers, right? So they own all the houses. The houses got bought up cheap. Baby boomers still own those houses to this day. The big family homes with multiple spare bedrooms are empty. And now that creates this traffic jam where people my age...
My grandparents,
yeah,
they all own property. All 4 of them died with nothing because that wealth which they had in property was used in equity release schemes. It was used in paying through their retirement. It was used in end-of-life care. Do you think when those old people die, young people today will be rich?
There is half the economy held by baby boomers. It's either going to be passed down or passed into the aged care industry or passed into... But the issue of why we can't get homes, 2 things.
I don't know if you heard that, but you guys need to write that down. All right? The aged care industry. If you guys want to make buco bucks, that's where you got to go. No, Damon's not here today. He's doing family stuff. So that is what you have to do. Open like a end-of-life care facility. What they usually do is the boomer whose kids hate them, because let's be honest, most of them, their kids hate them. They're going to sign off all their property, all their assets, all their money, everything to the care facility after they pass to pay for the care facility, right? So if you own care facilities, you get all that wealth because they're not going to give it to their kids. Let me tell you something. These boomers, They have that, I made it on my own, I could do it, I worked my paper out and paid for college, you can do it too. Like, they still have this mentality that the world is like how it used to be, and like you just didn't make it because of your own, you're just not a hard enough worker. That's all it is. So all of this boomer hate is kind of, it's a cultural thing because it was so easy for them. And the problem with these millionaires and the boomers coming from like a really good economic opportunity, most of their hardworking like years were spent making the most money in the biggest boom times. They had the most consecutive boom years in their work history. So that had them amass a lot of wealth, right? And they had like no student loan debt. They had like low interest and stuff like that. So they had like a really good setup that, like, of course they're doing well. But what happens is when you achieve something in life, there's a psychological bias that comes into play. And this is going to stop people from relating to anyone else. It's going to be like, well, if I did it, you could do it. I don't know. I forgot what it's called, but it's just like, it just doesn't transfer. They can't think that way. It's the same thing that happens when someone goes from middle class to upper middle class to, you know, lower wealthy to middle wealthy to affluent wealthy, right? So like every time there's a step up, it's really hard, especially if you don't have good relationships with people that you knew before, that you're going to have a hard time relating to them and you're going to start blaming them for everything. It's like a defense mechanism. Because that's how you kind of like differentiate yourself from them. You go, I made it out, therefore it's not that hard. We started from the same place, therefore it's not that hard. The other thing that will happen is when you're making it out of one socioeconomic bracket is the people around you will start attacking you or like asking for money, asking for handouts, asking for whatever, or maybe trying to rob you and being violent or different around you, become your haters, whatever, because they think, oh, you're trying to be better than me. It's because like they have, like when they see someone who started from the same place as them do better, they'll start attacking them. And that also adds to the person going, these people deserve what they got, right? So there's a lot of different psychological factors coming into play that makes them kind of dehumanize and stuff like that, other people. But it is what it is, guys. What are you talking about? What? Anyway. Anyways.
Government massively inflated the value of homes through debt. So they
Superior, so you coming?
Like
Stop complaining in the chat.
Who is the debt to?
Well, the debt is to anyone who can take out a loan, because if 0% interest rates or 2% interest rates.
Do you think it's the debt to ordinary families? Do you think ordinary families are the creditors?
When you say ordinary families, you mean bottom third?
So if your average British or American family now has £500,000 of debt,
it's anyone
who has the credit?
It's anyone who could get their, at that particular time, anyone who could get their hands on a loan to buy a house.
But who has the
on
credit?
housing
Who is on the other side of the debt? So if the average British family
the
has
banking
£500,000 in
the
debt,
banking license.
does the average British family have £500,000 credit?
Well, a lot of people have got a lot of equity in their home now.
You think the average British family is sitting on £500,000 cash?
I'd love to look at what the actual number is, but it's a couple of $100,000 worth of equity.
But what about credit on the loan? Credit on the loan. Who owns the credit on the loan?
Bear in mind, it's disproportionately older people. So 78%.
So you think the average British old person is sitting on millions of pounds of cash?
Not millions of cash, no, equity.
Well, someone is on the other side of the mortgage.
Just one second. The difference is if you inflate the value of a house, you don't have cash, you have a house that's worth a lot of money. So 78% of home ownership wealth is in the hands of people over 65 now. It's baby boomer generation. And they got a great gift from the government, which is the government said, we're going to just give free loans away. If someone previously could have only afforded to take out a $200,000 loan with low interest rates, they can afford a $300,000 loan.
Do you think it's okay that the average British or American young person will never own any wealth?
The issue is not whether it's okay or not. The issue is what do you do about it?
Do you own wealth?
I've got wealth, yeah.
Do you own wealth?
But it depends what you call wealth.
I do.
Yeah.
So do we, three multimillionaires, do we think it's okay that the average Brit or American young person will never own any wealth?
To me, that's
because I don't think that's okay.
To me, that's not the debate.
But is it okay?
It's not. Well, it's not okay. No, we want widespread affluence.
Would you rather that the people who currently are multimillionaires, would you rather that all of the wealth was owned by their kids?
I think that the way you see the world as a trader is that the world is a zero-sum game, and that there's basically the pie is a fixed pie and it gets sliced up.
How fast is the pie growing now?
There's something like this.
What's UK GDP growth at the moment?
Yeah, it's not high, right?
1%. How much did your wealth grow in the last year?
Exponentially.
Okay, so if our wealth, my wealth probably grew about 20% in the last year, maybe 30. Okay, if our wealth is growing 30% and the economy is growing at 1%, where's it coming from if it's not coming from our viewers?
So I'll tell you where my wealth comes from. My wealth comes from building technology companies, and the way it works is pretty weird. which is that I invent something out of my head and I go to investors and I say to the investors, here's what we're going to create. And I give them a spreadsheet. And then they say, we'll give you a couple of $100,000 to get started, which is called seed capital. But that on paper makes me worth a couple of million. Right.
Nice.
But there's nothing has been taken from anyone at this point. The investors have said, okay, we'll invest some money. Then as the business succeeds, some more investors come along and they say, we'll give you a little bit more money to keep growing it. And I'm innovating something new. And let's say investors come in and give me £1 million and for 10% of the company, and the rest of the company is worth £9 million or $9 million, right? So I'm not stealing something from the existing economy. I'm bringing something from outside of the economy into the economy. And my quote unquote net worth is growing exponentially because investors say, we'll give you a little bit of money that values the rest of the pie at a lot of money. But
So everyone's getting richer.
In the wealth there's wealth extraction, which is what traders do. They extract from the existing economy and they bet on the economy. And then there's wealth creation, which what entrepreneurs do. They come up with new ideas, better ways of doing things, and they build wealth.
So do you think the reason our viewers, the average Brit or American, are getting poorer is because they don't know how to create wealth?
No, the reason people are getting poorer is because economic freedoms are being eroded.
Okay.
When we have high economic
And you
freedom,
associate that with taxes.
well, anything that it could be anything that impacts economic freedom. So taxes and regulations are big.
Was economic freedom higher in the 50s?
50s was okay. So 50s was a interesting time. We were in food rations in this country till 1956. So we had 10 years of food rations after the war. We had a labour shortage because only really men worked. Women hadn't entered the workforce in mass. There had been 300,000 or 400,000 men killed in war. So we actually had this big labour shortage. The whole country needed to rebuild because of the Blitz had bombed it. So we had this huge need for economic activity and not enough people to do it. We only had 2% unemployment. People who had had their legs blown off were put to work at that.
At least 25 million in one day, 1 hour.
Particular time. So we had this boom, this post-war boom, and we also had the post-war baby boom, which drove consumption. And then when we got to the 60s, we had the roaring 60s or the swinging 60s, right? Pretty amazing time in Britain. And along comes high taxes. And they put up the taxes massively at the end of the 60s, and it pretty much crashed the economy. One of the things that happened...
So what were the tax rates in the 50s?
Well, they went up as high as 80 to 90% for the top, for the top end. I think it was in the 60s.
You sure about that?
But I think the 50s are unique.
What is the answer, Gary?
What is the-
I feel like you know.
They went up after the war.
They went up after the war.
Well, in the US, actually, tax rates started up before the war.
But also the size of government as a percentage of GDP was like 30%. It was a tiny, like we are now 45% of the UK economy is government spending. We have got a massive
Who funds that spending?
debt. The Bank of England allows them to print endless amounts of debt, which it
Just that?
deflates.
No taxes?
Gary, I want to get your opinion here because
Yeah.
you're asking me a lot of questions, but I actually don't know your opinion.
I just want to know what Daniel thinks. And I want our viewers to be able to research Daniel's opinions.
But how do you disagree with those opinions?
Listen, Daniel's a businessman. He's obviously a very successful businessman. You know, I've not been anywhere. I'm not a businessman. I'm not going to pretend to be a businessman. I'm an economist. I make money by being right in the economy. Daniel's a good businessman, and I'm right on the economy. You know, it's as simple as that, basically. You know, I'm not a good businessman, but I've got 15 years of being right on this, on the economy. And look, I know you're probably a wealthy man. You probably don't want to pay high taxes. You probably don't want your kids to pay high taxes. But we exist in an economy where wealth is being extracted out of the middle class, out of the working class, very, very rapidly. It's benefiting people like the three of us at this table. It will benefit our kids. You know, our kids will be rich, their kids will be poor. And I just think we should be honest with them. Capitalism's finished. We won. Well done, Stephen. Well done, Daniel. Well done, Gary. It's over now. Our kids will be rich, their kids will be poor. They'll pay the taxes. We won't pay the taxes. We'll avoid it. I'll make money betting on it year after year. Why are we lying to them? Why are we lying to them?
Yeah, I think that's an overly simplified view of things. I don't
It's an
think
overly simplified view of things that has made me a multimillionaire.
Yeah, well, look, entrepreneurs take bets on the economy as well. We take bets differently. When we start a company, we're betting on how
Do
the
you think
economy
the average
would be.
British and American worker at the 50th percentile, do you think their kids will be richer than they are?
It depends if we have economic freedom or not, right? We're going to have a split test
Do you
on
think
this,
we will?
right? We're going to have a split test. We're going to have the UK seems like we're going to have more taxes, more regulations, and it seems like the US is going to have less taxes and less regulations. Here's what I've noticed. I've noticed that places like Singapore that have small governments have got widespread affluence. There's not a lot of poverty in Singapore.
Yeah, except
Same
for
as
the cleaners
Swiss.
living in the closets, yeah.
You know,
Okay, well,
look,
we're
but we
not
don't
talking
count
about
these
that.
statistics. Just like we
There's
don't count
always
our
been
youth.
slavery.
that's not widespread in Singapore.
Well, there's a lot of people. I've seen them in the closets. I've seen them in the closets.
There are some.
But they're not Singaporeans.
Well, also
We only count the rich ones.
look, also the issue is that they've come from even worse conditions in many cases. People move to Singapore for an increase in lifestyle, right?
See, the closet is only bad if you had a dirt floor before. See, it's all about your perceptions, guys. See? Look at this ears guy.
You could take Ireland or Switzerland, right? Economically free places. Ireland was economically in a disaster.
Do you think the average Irish person lives well?
Well, their
average
economy
50th
almost
percentile Irish person lives well.
their economy almost collapsed in 2011, and they went down the road of lower taxes, lower regulations, and they attracted all sorts of businesses into the economy.
Do you think that works well for the average Irishman who doesn't own a home in Dublin?
If you measure everything by home ownership,
I'm measuring people by the
by the way,
average. I want to know what the average man or woman in Dublin today lives like.
By the way, I'm also furious about the home ownership thing. Everyone is. I think it's utterly ridiculous the way, like the idea that homes are now worth 10 times the average wage, all of that. The difference is I blame government for that. I blame high taxes where because of high taxes, they can take out more debt. They can then inflate the
So
economy.
do you think if we shrink the government, if we start to slash government spending, do you think that would improve living conditions?
Well, the UK government is 45% of the economy. Like, that's a huge government. It's
So do you think
biggest
US
since World
living
War
conditions
II.
will increase in the next few years because we have a US government now that's planning to slash the US government?
Well, that's what the US voters have asked for.
Do you think it will improve living conditions?
Do I think it'll improve
For the average American?
if there's smaller government? Yeah, I trust markets.
So you think
here's
the average US American will be richer in 3 years than they are
Here's what
now?
I trust. I trust economic freedom. If people have freedom, they create better decisions for their own life. There's two ways
Do
to
you
make
have
decisions.
freedom?
There's two
Do
ways-
you have freedom?
I've got less freedom
Do
than
you
I
have
did when I wrote.
What?
Good afternoon, Butterball.
What's up, Hooker?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So you're all alone today? No one wanted to deal with you, or what?
Yeah.
No. I'm surprised because Damon and Teriak are your simps. So
Okay, can you stop? And you know that Teriak and I are no longer working
I don't even know
together.
what happened. Did he just simp too hard and he lost your respect, or what happened?
I made an entire video breaking down our fight.
I don't watch your damn videos. I only watch in your live so I can make fun of you.
It was live.
Oh, was it? Oh, I must have
Yeah.
missed it. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, recap me at least. Did he turn autistic more than usual, or what?
No, he just he started acting funny, trying to be Andrew Wilson. And
Oh, yeah.
Don't start. Let me finish.
Okay.
So he was trying to be like Andrew Wilson-y, like trying to act like I was some, I don't know, OnlyFans skank, whatever, like to get like a viral clip. And he did. He got his little viral clip only because he cut out like what I said. So it's just and it was only 2 minutes because he couldn't really get like a substantial thing. It was like really stupid. But anyways, so
in other words, I was right the whole time where I said like he revolves his whole life around Andrew Wilson and tries to make his whole persona and his whole personality about him, cult of personality, a little simp like that. So I was right from the beginning, right?
yeah, it's like I can totally understand. Look, if that's the type of content you like to create, go out there, like literally go out there and like what Jake did once, like go talk to people on the streets. And if they say something that's really skanky, go ahead and call them out, right? But don't do it to your friend's wife and like try to humiliate her and him. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to humiliate you. I mean, you're stupid. You're clumsy as hell.
okay,
You
shut up, whore.
No, but what I'm saying, it's easy to humiliate. I mean, that's not even like you know what I mean? Like, you can humiliate you. Look at the fat wings you have. Look at that nose. I mean, you're eating like a damn walrus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at that. I mean, look, you just killed a whole fish right there in one bite. Like, dude, your jaw, like, are you grinding boulders? Look at that. Good Lord. I mean, that bite was bigger than like a half a meal for some Ethiopian children. Why is he thinking about my weenie?
It inspires.
It does. It inspires. It does. Kat, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, see, this is what I mean. But are you noticing? I think we need to have a stream about this, about
What?
YouTube turning men from heterosexual simps into homosexual simps.
I mean, you did tell me this.
I told you this months ago. Didn't I say this, Kat?
Well, the Jezebel spirit is not gendered.
They're succubus.
It's a Jezebel.
Incubus. Yeah. Yeah, I get to sit here and eat my animal cookies, and
You're like 5.
no, I'm eating the circus ones with the mother's cookies with the pink and white ones. Those are good, man.
Those are, yeah, I had those when I was 5.
No, these are good, man. What? What's wrong with you?
No, they are good, but like they're processed. So
Oh,
I don't eat
yeah.
processed food.
I don't understand what the chat listens to. I mean, it's almost like mukbanging, like this stream. It's not even really like a stream about information.
Okay. So what do you think about the economy? Do you think that becoming wealthy is too impossible now, or is it just like
No, it's easier than ever. Like, I mean, the problem is
how
we
much?
start
Wait.
out
First, how many millions do you have? Before we continue.
7, 8, in like total wealth. But like See, poor Steve. I mean, I'm sure Steve has a good amount, right? To keep you just around. Jeez. See, that's the thing. You'd cut and run from Steve the moment all that gone.
He
I
didn't
feel
have
bad
any
for
money when I met him.
Yeah, but that's because you were young and stupid. But now that you're old and decrepit, you need like a ton to support you.
All
And
right.
you got these two like rugrats running around, right?
That was his choice.
That was your choice.
No, it was literally like,
So what? He didn't he forced he tripped he like tripped, fell, and landed in you or something, or what happened?
no, because I said, "Do you want to have kids?" Like whatever you want, and he's like, "I don't
Maybe
know.
he
I
just
don't
forgot to
know."
pull out once. I don't know.
What's your body count, Imperius? People want to know. The people want to know about you.
Like 30 something.
Ugh, skanky.
It's not even that high. That's not even. I mean, I guess maybe for like our time that was high, but like nowadays, I feel like that's low now for people.
Yeah, back in our time, you would have been like a dirty skank.
Yeah, kind of like because of college and high school and stuff mostly. Um, yeah, but like that now, I feel like that's like high school now or something. These kids run through that much.
Well, from what I hear, only like the top looking guys get the chicks and nobody else does.
Yeah, I think it's more. I mean, I don't think I'm like a 10. I'm probably like over like a 7 to 8, somewhere around. Like looks wise, I don't think I'm like anything like that great. I mean, I'm a decent looking white dude, but I'm not like Brad Pitt white dude or something. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
like. I think like humor, the gift of gab, like intelligence, charisma, like your aura, your confidence means a lot too. Like if you're like, see, I walk around like I'm the shit all the time. So like girls, like, see, that's the thing. Like a lot of them, like they get annoyed with it because I'm so cocky and and then eventually they're in bed with me. It's weird. Um, so I don't know, Kat. Like especially the Persians. Kat, you saw my ex. Like she's pretty, right?
Are we through? Are we going to talk about her every stream?
No, is she hot though, Kat? You got to tell your stream. At least she's
Yes,
hot.
she's very cute.
Yeah, I know, right? Would you nut in her face, Kat? You're a guy.
Yeah, totally.
She's hotter. Is she hotter than Andrew Wilson's wife?
I don't know. Are they the same age?
No. Well, maybe now. Yeah, probably, right? That pig is a jeez, man. That's like a
Okay,
fucking
okay.
pig.
Just be nice. Be nice.
She is. She's a pig, and she's a tone policer.
You
She's
have
a
to
tone
be.
policer, though. She's a tone policer. Did you see the chats I sent or what I sent to her on X and
No,
stuff?
that
Well,
was
because
too many words. And then I know that you tried to attack Grid. You went like crazy.
Grid's a
That was
piece of
also
shit
too many
too.
words. Okay,
Grid's a piece of shit. They're all like, look, I
calm.
like Grid as a person. I think he's a genuine nice person, but he's being a little piece of shit, being too like simping for these men. Like I understand he wants to be in like the cool group. He probably was never like the cool kid all the time in his life. You know what I mean? But he
I
needs to
don't think
understand I'm the cool
anyone
kid.
is the cool kid.
No, I'm the cool kid. I've always been the cool kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since remember, Kat, in middle school,
Here
like
we
I
go.
was the
Middle
one.
school.
Ever since middle school, then in high school, and then in high school to college, and after college, I'm the cool kid. I'm the cool kid. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, notice how all these other channels, they're all becoming like people are realizing what these people are compared, like what I've said for so long, and everyone like, Kat, you would be surprised how many people want me to start a channel and stuff. I don't want to do it. It's no, it's
Do
gross.
it. Just be like
No.
Simpin' with Simperius. That'll be a
That's
great
funny.
channel.
That's a funny name, actually. No, but no, I can't do it. Like, it's just gross, dude. I don't want to do that shit. It's gross. Like I just can't. Like, I feel the YouTube community now is more restrictive now than it was like during the Biden shit. Like when everyone was complaining, it's like people censor themselves. Like Flow, Grit, all these people are so desperate to try to make money as a living off this because no one wants to work.
Nobody
That
should want to work.
you should want. I like to work. I like getting up at 4 a.m. on Monday. Like I enjoy it. Like I like getting up that early, then going right to the gym, getting moving, getting doing. Like I don't know, dude. I just like moving. Simply Imperious Gem. That's pretty funny too. Like,
That's
see, I wonder if I
adorable.
could start channels and have like little segments, like you said, like simping with Imperious. And then like every week I go over like stupid things like YouTube women have said or something. But then I'll
Or
be
just just review stupid
no, but
things
the
you
game
said.
will be no, but the game will be the audience and I have to judge if all the stupid shit she said is comparable and balanced to how hot she is. And if it's true she's hot, we'll let it slide. If not, we have to rate her. You know what I mean? Like that will be like the game.
Oh my
Where'd they go,
gosh.
Kat? Kat, when's your sister coming back?
She's on a boat right now.
She's not on a boat. She has no boat. She's probably on a raft.
I think it's a cruise.
Cuban bitch probably rafting back.
Oh
from
my God.
fucking-
Relax.
She's
Relax.
probably rafting back from Cuba trying to smuggle her ass back in here.
Oh gosh.
Am I wrong, Kat? Kat, do you think she has a better ass than you or no?
Oh my God.
Don't dude, sisters always judge who's the hotter one and stuff.
We're totally different.
Yeah, you're more like the pasty one. She's kind of like that Cubanita one. You're like the pasty white one, I think. You do look the most white, though, I think.
I'm the brown one. She's the white one.
No, dude, you're whiter. You look Persian, dude. You're not white. Like
Well,
you look
she's
like the more
tan.
traditional. Yeah, you look the more traditional Persian. She's the more white-looking one, or the Latin-looking one. She has that like bird beak.
Look at this. She's kayaking at best.
Yeah, exactly. She's kayaking it. Yeah, exactly. That's why he said maybe she's doing the damn what was that Titanic thing where she's on the damn door.
Nobody knows.
See, the thing is like I love that the more haters I have, the better I'm doing, Kat. Like, Kat, if I don't get people to like pay to kick me off, I make thousands for creators a week. It's just entertaining for me.
Well, you've made me -0.
Well, because nobody's on here anyways to like build this. You got to help me. I got to have time to build this shit. I mean, Kat, you've messed this up already so much with your vaginosis. I mean, like, it's just.
All right,
like,
slut. Let's continue.
I'm looking more into the debate. I want to see this because Grit is like fashioned himself some intellectual now. Like he's like, I debate anyone now, and I debate. It's like, no, you don't. Shut up, dude.
Okay, this is a cute name too. I like working out with Wimperius.
That's funny. Working it out with Wimperius. That's funny. That's funny. We can do like a gym segment every day.
Yeah, see, that would be a good idea.
We could also take like video.
What's a vaginosis? Oh my gosh.
Vaginosis.
Lord.
No, it's a good word. No, like we could do like, yeah. Why do the women? Okay, seriously, good question for me or for you. When you guys go to the gym, why do you guys wear those tight span? Like it doesn't allow the breathing down. Doesn't that increase the bacterial infection rate and stuff down there? As like a woman who does the health shit.
Okay.
Doesn't.
Do you know what I wear to the gym? I don't go anymore because like I just work out
You wear
here.
like gym shorts, just like basketball shorts or something.
I used to wear jeans.
What is wrong with you? Yeah, I could see that. But the thing is, you were the one that never really worked out. You'd like do like two.
No. I wore jeans because I wore like the tights one time, and then on my ankle, I got like a fungus, like one of those ringworm things, and I had to treat that shit. And then after that, I was like so disgusted by like touching things other people touched that I put like full on jeans and these thick socks. Like padded thick socks.
You're so neurotic. Like
and then I wore like an entire like layers of clothes, like sweaters and stuff like that. And
has Steve sent you to a mental health professional or no?
No, he would do the same thing. Like he's a germaphobe.
You guys are made for it. What
like
a weirdo.
We are like this. We're both like
are weird, dude.
Germs.
You guys are a germ. You guys are weird, dude. Like, why don't you just wear basketball shorts?
I didn't have a camel toe. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she did. Well, I mean, the thing is like you couldn't see it with those wide ass hips and those thunder thighs. There's no air. There's no light between those thighs. Not anymore, Kat. Like you might be used to, but like, dude, like there's no light between those thighs. Like you could probably start a fire if you were jogging.
Nice.
I'm just what?
Nothing. Go on.
No, I don't know why they do it though. That's really gross that they go to the gym and they wear that kind of shit because
Oh, do you know like one of the gyms, not my gym, not even the one I used to go to, but it had a what's it called? A syphilis outbreak because these
I believe
hoes
it.
had such they didn't wear underwear underneath. So they didn't have underwear. They just had these plastic things, and the plastic makes the bacteria even more like grow than like a natural fiber like a cotton or a wool or something like that. So
Well, that's what I'm saying.
guys who just wore like the loose shorts and didn't wear like that much, they were getting like I think it was chlamydia or something. It was one of those STDs. I don't know which one, but it was like a real thing. Do you guys want me to look it up? Do you care enough?
Well, there was something going on where like these whores were doing like their OnlyFans shit at the gym. They were working and doing like, and
Yes,
they
yes,
were getting
yes.
given like rashes and like bacterial infections and
Hmm.
yeast like all
Hmm.
over the place. And this is what I'm saying. Like, dude, women don't realize that women's bodies are actually the
Okay,
gross
okay, okay.
one
Stop,
compared to the
stop.
men. No, but we don't have any opening.
Relax.
We don't
Okay,
have any opening
it's
like
great.
that. We don't have.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but like, why don't women understand that there's the actually, if you took a step back, are the
Oh
gross one.
boy.
We're actually just the functional, closed, efficient thing. You know, you guys are just, you're only attractive to us, and that's after a lot of work. You guys, Kat, all my girlfriends, you
How
know,
many
like
girlfriends?
lot, there's been a lot. But all of them that, you know, you guys always do, like, you have to do so much work. It's like they get up every morning, they put like lotion over their entire body to smell pretty every day. You guys have to do like
I
the
don't
eye.
use phthalates.
What is that?
Oh my god. Serious.
What is
Phthalates
that?
are they put it in fragrances so that it holds the smell on your skin longer. It's highly toxic and it ruins your hormones. Makes you fat too.
Oh, this was just like lotion, dude. What is wrong
No,
with you?
anything
Didn't
anything with a smell.
Kat, you're so stupid, dude. Stop, dude. There's natural oils and stuff, Kat. Like everything
Do
you
you
do,
think everybody's getting natural oil like
rich girls
stuff?
do.
No, the stuff that's wealthy, whatever, like the brand names and all that stuff, they're the most toxic. You would have to
No, these
find
not the
something
LA, not the
homemade.
girls that are shopping at like Whole Foods and doing all that like rich white girl shit. Stop it, Kat. Like Kat, stop, dude. You're the one that's sitting there probably taking out on like, you know, all this sugar and you know, corn syrup and everything right now. Kat, you're so neurotic on so much. How does he deal with you?
He's the same.
He's not as neurotic. Like, see, that's the thing. It's no, he's not. He doesn't like sit there and like he during the stream. He's very quiet and observant.
Okay. Name one product that is a rich girl product. I'll look up what kind of toxins
I
are in
don't
it.
know. Like, I don't know. I'd
Exactly.
have
You
to
got
look. I have to
nothing.
remember. I don't know. I'm not buying that shit. I just know that if they're the kind of girls I remember they were when I dated, like, dude, they were like miss like everything has to be organic and this and that and this. So stop, dude.
Let's see. Phthalates make you the T
Yeah, you're
word.
not the only one with a clean vagina in the world. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
I'm
Like
not okay.
other
Relax,
no,
bruh.
but what I'm saying is like, dude, like literally, you have to understand that like, yeah, Steve, poor Steve. Like, dude, there's a lot of girls that like are all hardcore about like not smelling and being all like organic. Like, Kat, I don't even really like girls that eat burgers or hot dogs, or because it's like I feel all that grease like seeps into the vagina and stuff, and
Okay,
it's
okay,
gross.
enough. Superiors, can you not be
No, but
disgusting?
I'm just saying I'm sensitive. I don't like girls. I want girls eating like fruit and salads. They're supposed to be like a little deer or something. You're not supposed to like eat all this like
Beer? Did you say beer?
deer. You're supposed to be like
Beer?
deer, DEER. You're supposed to be like deer. You're not supposed to eat. You're supposed to eat like fruit and grass and stuff.
Do you think we're not human? That we're like another species that eats
Yeah,
grass like
somewhat,
cows?
kind of. Yeah, kind of. Have you
Jesus.
seen what leaks out of you guys? Like, I trust me.
Okay,
I've
enough.
dated.
Superiors, stop being
No, I'm just
disgusting.
saying
No, no,
vaginal
no, no.
discharge is gross,
Stop.
dude.
So okay, shh. Shh. We're not going to be gross. We're going to be classy young men today. Mhm.
I'm very classy. I'm elegance at its finest. Diamonds are forever. So is Imperious.
Beautiful.
He's such a bitch, dude. Like, dude, he is such a bitch, dude. That guy, honestly,
You
like,
say
I
that
like.
about everybody. You say that
No,
about
no, no.
everybody. You
No,
have
no.
a
Like he's
problem with
no. What it
everyone.
is?
Who
No,
do
the
you like?
problem.
No.
I like you. I
Who do
think
you
you're
like?
funny because you're
Who?
genuinely just a silly girl and you don't try to like be someone else.
You
But
talk
Flo's a little.
so much shit to me.
But that's because you dealt with it. You got through the initiation. You're fine now. But like
Initiation.
Flo's like a little bitch. Like, dude, he sits there and he's like, he's a felon, a reprobate. And he's sitting there going, "Oh my God, don't say that. The scary things that hurt people's feelings. Oh my God. Like, I need a YouTube channel because I can't get a job. I need to." It's like, dude, stop, dude. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like,
All right.
does he
Anyways.
not? No. Hold on. Do people not understand that the future of YouTube is like the internet? All these channels are dying. Like, why do you think I get invited to channels that are growing and shit? Because I'm part of that. Like, all these channels are dying, dude. Like, Flo's channels doesn't do anything. Andrew's channel's even dying if you look at the metrics every month and
$100
stuff.
for what?
He wants me to pay him $100. I don't give a shit. I can just have him banned from CT's channel, and that's worth $100 to me.
Oh my gosh, help us.
Like, I'll just have him banned, like, from multiple channels.
Didn't you have
I'll
to
just
pay Grid $100 to go back on his channel?
No, I don't pay anyone anything. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's the same. This is what I'm saying. It's the same. It's the, you know what he reminds, because you know why I think it's annoying is because Sarah said the same thing. You were mean. You got to pay $100. I guess Flo's a little. That's what I'm saying. They're bitches. All these people that go on this like Speakeasy, Flo, Sarah, they're all disingenuous little bitches that are trying to make a freaking like a little bit of money during a short little period of time on YouTube, trying to like. It's just it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
God,
Fascinating.
you guys.
Dude, Flo's numbers have been doing well. John, I beg to differ. I've seen numbers that show quite different. If he makes 17K a month as his channel, damn, that's just, I make more than that. Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to sit there and watch another product of another man's balls run around my house. He does. There, dude. Could you live like that? Like, I would like to know Steve. Like, could Steve live with, like, let's say you had another man's ball, like the product of another dude's balls before him? Do you think he could deal with that? Do you think Steve would deal with that? I don't think he would. I think Steve would have dumped you. He would never have taken you in.
He had options, Simperius.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He would.
He was
Andrew
a
had the
child.
options. Andrew's a little bitch. He went like to Bonita High School or Diamond Ranch or some bullshit in Pomona there. Yeah, Anton Daniels, dude. I'm on Anton's, dude. I'm on Anton's team. Yeah. No, Powder Dusty, dude. Dude,
Oh my God.
I put my balls in your mouth so bad. That's why you're so afraid to have me on your
Oh
channel,
my
because you
God.
can't.
Okay.
No. He's so terrified to have me. He's gonna like sit there and try to be edgy on his chats when I could say 5 words, and he's like, "Oh my God, okay, Pierce, that's enough." Like, dude, he's a bitch. Like,
All right.
that's
All
what I'm
right.
saying.
All right.
He's a disingenuous tweaker. Disingenuous tweaker. I could have him banned from so many channels so quickly, but because I want him to show up there, so I could just, I don't know. I'll have him, eat my ass and then ask how it tastes afterwards. I'll have him eat
Talking
my ass
about.
and ask him how it tastes
Okay.
afterwards. Hey,
Relax.
Flo, how does my ass taste?
Okay.
I'm just gonna wait till he's on one of those
Simperius.
channels and I can just so hop up and watch him walk away like a bitch. He's gonna walk away like that. What was that troon?
All right, hold on. Just take a minute.
Well, what was that troon advertising? What?
I'm gonna continue with the video. You're annoying. Oh, he gave you a challenge.
I'll ask CT. Sure, I'll text him right now. Gimpy and I and CT text, like, I have their numbers, and it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. Powder Flo is so silly. Actually, why don't I have him? No, I won't have him banned. I'll wait till he comes up there, and then I can humiliate Flo, and then we can replay it, and then we can have more clips. That'll be better. See, it's better for the advertising. It's better for the short. So, like I said, maybe I'll have him banned from like Huron's or something. you know, or Sexy Reds, or maybe I'll talk to PhD Diva and have him banned off there or something. But like, no, he's entertaining. And that's the thing. I think if I did have him banned, it would be kind of hypocritical because I get mad when people ban, right? It would be kind of hypocritical, huh? And I can't be hypocritical. That would be kind of hypocritical, right? But yeah, so maybe I'll allow it just because it gives me more of a excuse on him, that I can tell him he's a bitch that he banned a man just saying that his family used to hang black people. Like that, what a little bitch that's what he got me. He's like,
Oh
he had
no.
a full moon tonight. Yeah.
Okay, try to be classy. Try to be
I
classy.
am classy. What do you?
Can you
I'm,
keep it together? Keep it together.
what
Keep
are we
it
keeping
together.
What are we keeping it together with on tonight?
Yes.
Oh, Anson's here. Good. I like Anson. He's fun. Anson's like me, dude. We're both sick-minded.
Yeah, well, Imperious, you're a little bit less degenerate than I am. So
Oh, here's this little cuck boy.
Hey, we're
Flo,
saying
Flo, does it
classy
offend you that?
words.
Hey, Flo,
Classy.
hey,
hey, Flo,
Classy
does it
word.
Flo, does it offend you that my family used to hang black people? Flo,
Oh my God.
See that, and so this is the thing. I don't care about. I'm not offended by any of that shit. I understand what he's doing, but I don't. I respect my channel. I put work into it. I make money off it. Just because he doesn't give a fuck about it doesn't mean I don't. So if he's going to come up and do things like that threaten my channel or my monetization, why would I give him access to that for free?
yeah,
So
Cat, why do you let him up here so much?
I got tired of Imperious
I asked
continuously
everybody.
threatening my monetization, and so I decided that instead of just allowing him to not be a piece of shit sometimes, that he has to actually make a positive contribution to the channel in order to be back. So there you go. Did he just like committed suicide by cop? That's what he just did. His little coward ass just immediately said something he knew would get him dropped. Hi.
Flo, you're just a reprobate that needs to live off the good graces of others because he can't get a job. And because of that,
But I can get on a free
no, Flo.
channels.
Because of that, I can
God.
treat you any way I want. You reprobate jerk off.
Imperious.
No, he's a reprobate. No. Because he's a drug addict and a drug.
Here we go. Here it is.
So I was actually looking forward to having a conversation about the economics issues that were presented, because that's my wheelhouse because of what I do professionally. And
Okay.
And I know
Let's
Flow
just
State's
ignore
into that
him.
too.
He'll go away.
Okay. He will if you make him.
You have to say no, Cat.
No, again,
Imperious. No,
I was nice. I didn't say anything bad.
I know.
You didn't want
But you
cursing.
gotta-
No.
You gotta be
it's
nice.
my time to address this. No, it's my time to address this.
Can you say without cursing and
Yes,
acting
I don't
like
have
a
to
psycho?
curse. I don't curse during my job.
It's her channel.
He is a repugnant. He is a repugnant degenerate.
Beautiful words. Very classy.
He's a repugnant. He is
many syllables.
He is a putrescent slug.
Ooh, good syllables.
He is an absolute useless, inferior organism.
So you're mad because he still has more
I'm
money,
not mad.
more clout,
Flo,
more
I'm mad.
importance.
Flo, I'm mad because you're not in jail. I'm mad because I can
Imperious.
No. I'm mad. No. Cat,
Mhm.
can I please? No, I didn't say any
Can
cursing.
you get me
it's my
banned off
time now.
CT, please?
No, I why?
Because
I'll wait till you're up there like this, so
can't.
then I can keep doing this
Right.
and humiliating
That's why we're
you
doing this
and
now.
ruining your channel.
I would love for you
because
to prove that you're not
what's going to
completely
happen,
making
just
it
like
up.
grids and everyone else's, the future of the internet is me, and I'll just seep your channel and seep your money, and you'll go away as it is. That's all you care about, you
have
rat.
me banned off CT.
You rata. Why?
You
why rata? Why?
Because,
when you'll disappear as it is because you can't get a job, sir. You can't get a job, sir. It's a rat.
I have a job.
You can't get a job, sir. You can't get a job, and
the
girl you have is a reprobate too. Why would I want a tweaker? Why do I want a girl that's put drugs in her body?
If you got laid.
Why would I want a girl that's put death in her body?
Anyways, he needs a little break. He's just gonna calm down, guys.
He's not gonna calm down. He's gonna stay hateful forever. I'm gonna live in his head rent free like Andrew Wilson does, because he has an inferiority complex, and everybody he feels less than or weaker than, he hates them. But it only hurts him. Let's talk about economics.
Okay.
Right. Just
because my sister can't pay the rent. Is that freedom?
if you're living in a
She
country,
can't afford to live in the city that she was born in.
I agree. You and I
that
agree on
freedom?
the problem. You keep bringing back to the problem.
I keep bringing it back to people because the people who watch, we're millionaires, okay? The people who watch us are mostly not millionaires. Is life going to get better for them?
The life will get better if you are connected to the most productive parts of the economy. If you pretend that it's 1955 and you recreate the post-war era conditions, if you try to go back to 1955, I don't think that's going to work.
So let me ask on that then, the point about if you're connected to the most productive parts of the economy. I was quite surprised when I was doing some research on this to find that there's quite big differences between the UK and the US in terms of GDP growth. In Q4 2024, the US economy grew by 0.6%, while the UK growth was 0.1%. So they're doing significantly better in that regard. US GDP per head stands at $82,000 per head,
So
whereas the UK
I
stands at
want to
$49,000 per head.
comment
And
on
stock market
that,
performance.
Kat.
Yeah.
So GDP growth is not a good metric for economic growth because it's not adjusted for inflation, right? So if you factor in the price of the actual money, the economy was actually negative in growth, right? There's other means related to actual production, the other metrics related to actual production that you can use that are better for determining the economic output of a country. Every time they devalue the currency, it increases the GDP.
They don't offset that? Are you sure?
Yo, I'm
Yeah,
certain.
they don't.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a massive issue.
Yeah. So like what I was wondering was when they like if it was not all planned to destroy small businesses, which is what I ended up believing that it was the whole pandemic, whatever it was for, if they really just wanted to like help people, why couldn't they just freeze all mortgages and rents and everything and then just give people I don't know, like a chance to just buy food and stuff like that and
Are
maybe
you
help some of the
a-
lower income people? What?
are you advocating for price controls?
I mean, freezing of the economy.
Yeah,
A freeze.
yeah. So that's
What?
basically like that's Soviet style centralized economic planning. That's like 100% socialism.
Yeah, the issue with that is that I mean, you can't centrally plan what is that big of a chaotic system. Nobody knows how much toilet paper I need, right?
Well, not to like freeze like people buying stuff or how much you can buy, but at least freeze the biggest payment, which is usually the mortgage or the rent payment.
Okay.
That would
So
that's you
But
take
like,
it
let's say
against-
if the banks were not allowed to collect it and just continued where they left off after the pandemic, that could have helped people.
well, except for the people who work at banks who need that
It-
revenue.
what about all the people that own
Can't
the
help
property?
everybody.
What about all the people that own the property, right? So it's there are unintended consequences whenever
But if
you
the,
interfere.
but if the people who own the property don't have to pay the mortgages on the properties that they own, they don't have to pay anything just for like a month.
Right.
So if banks don't have revenue, then what when we look at bank failures, if they don't have income to cover, they start taking out of their depositors' accounts historically. So then you congratulations, you just collapse the economy because you don't want people to have to pay their mortgage for a month.
But
What
how
about
can they
rent to own
tell-
places? What about tenants? Would tenants still have to pay landlords if the landlords got
No.
a free pass?
But
so
that's
you're
the thing,
basically
if-
screwing over every landlord in the entire country.
Which is largely middle class people, by the way.
Yeah.
Being a landlord is one of the few ways that a normal person can move into an asset ownership class.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, it had to be better than let's close all the small businesses and put
That was
all the small
retarded.
businesses under.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. You can't just turn off the economy for a year, nor did you have the right to. That's crazy.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends whose small businesses collapsed because of that. It was disgusting, and it was a massive wealth transfer to large corporations, and I it was that you can't solve bad policy by creating more bad policy out of your feelies, though, kid.
Well, what they gave us was bad policy as well. Like, I don't think you can do anything in that case. You should have just like left everybody alone. Just say, okay,
Yep.
guys, do whatever you need to do. We can't tell you what to do, but the fact is they did say you cannot go to work, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And just that alone destroyed everything. and you have to take this experimental thing, or you can't do this, or you can't work, or you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff they shouldn't have done. They
Yeah,
should have just
absolutely.
said, look, you're all your own person. We're telling you what's going on, but at the end of the day, like, you decide what you want to do. Period.
Absolutely. I still think there should be people in prison for that situation, but
yeah, I know of people who, like, they were fired because they wouldn't take something that they were forcing them to take, and then they ended up years later having no employment for years, but they got a huge settlement at the end of that because at least they stuck to their guns. But I mean, a lot of people are too scared to do that because they don't have savings, and
a lot of people, how do I phrase this? If we're in that situation again, holler at your boy. Because really, at the end of the day, all most people needed was a little paper card, right? And you can get those without poisoning the shit out of yourself. I mean, I could get those for you without poisoning the shit out of yourself.
Yeah, I actually got the poison twice, and it messed up. Well, it's a long story,
Okay.
but it messed up my lymph nodes, and it made me terribly ill. And it was actually worse doing that than it was the times that I got the disease. Because I don't know. Anyway, it's a long story.
Yeah,
we're talking economics.
Which is an indication of, I guess, whatever, rose by 300% in the US, whereas the FTSE 100 declined by 20%, which is the UK stock market. Productivity growth since 2018, productivity increased by 30% in the United States, which has outpaced the UK. And lastly, income growth. Since 2007, American income per head has increased by 72%, while it has decreased by 2% in the UK in dollar terms. So they seem to be doing better if you just look at the economy. Why is that? Is that because they lean more into technology and to innovation and entrepreneurship? And is it because of the things you were saying earlier about their attitude towards the government, like reduce government spending versus tax the rich? Why? I'm keen to hear Gary's view on this because I understand yours because you've just said it.
Yeah, I think these are great statistics. And of course, the US has a strong reputation for being very free markets and being very small states. In the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we've had a UK government that has been aggressively slashing the state. And the US.
Do you guys remember what happened in the UK during the whole thing? Like, they actually had a lot of surveillance cameras put up, and they were trying to get people to just stay within their little tiny zones, and then you would get, like, penalized if you moved out of those zones. But then the people started taking down the cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and there were.
I don't remember that specifically with the UK, but I remember that in Australia.
Yeah, Australia was the worst. In terms of, like,
but from what I heard, after talking to some Australians, it sounds like a lot of that stuff that we heard, though, may also have been propaganda. I'm under the impression it was not as bad over there as what we were told it was.
Oh, well, Damon could come in next week and tell us, because that's what I was listening.
That guy's not reliable.
What do you mean?
They exaggerate stuff, and that's the problem with these issues, right? And so if you get entrenched on the anti side or the pro side of whatever issue it is, people will just make up stuff to back up their positions.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, everybody, I guess, will do that. Okay, Sampier says he's going to be nice.
No,
I'm going to give him
no,
I'm going to give him 1 second.
No.
One chance. What chance?
No, haven't you learned from this? Is like the 1,000th chance you've given Imperius.
I don't care either. I'm fine either way.
He's been a little good.
No, he's been just spazzing out in the back check because that's where he has to be. But I don't care either way.
Give him a chance.
Yeah,
all right,
it's one.
Are you? Whoa. Are you going to talk about the topic?
Yes, macro and microeconomics were completely different. They have they don't work synonymously at all.
They don't have supply and demand.
No, sir. No. Microeconomics examines how companies can maximize profit. Okay. Microeconomics talks about bottom-up pricing, bottom-up individual firm analysis. Macroeconomics takes much more into account individual industries, aggregate economic correlation.
Countries largely. But we're talking about the same thing on scale.
It's more Keynesian. No, sir. individual
No,
firm.
Keynesian economics is a proposal. It's a prescriptive
No,
type of economics.
Keynesian economics is macroeconomics.
No,
Your
that's
JC degree on
that's a
economy is lacking.
you don't know what you're talking about.
No,
Keynesian is a
I know
type.
absolutely what I'm talking about.
Then shut
What
up
does a
and
drug
let me.
dealer know about micro and macroeconomics?
I have a bachelor's degree in
No,
econ. I
that
spent 10
means
years as a
nothing from a
commercial dealer.
JC. From a
Banker.
JC. From a JC school.
You
I
don't
went to a top 10
understand.
university, sir.
You don't know what you're
I went
talking
to
about.
so therefore I have
I don't.
entire
I don't believe you.
justification.
First
for
of
it.
all, I don't
Can
believe
I don't
you.
care what you believe.
Jesus.
We
Yes,
know
you
that
do.
you're a felon. That's all.
Yes.
All right. Oh,
So let me clear up the Keynesian economics thing. Keynesian economics is an economic school of thought. It's prescriptive, but it is not macroeconomics. It's one approach to macroeconomics. There are other kinds, like Austrian, for instance. Still a macro. Anyways, go ahead. I really like this
45% of
podcast,
the
by the way.
economy.
And the US, we
Diary
had
of a CEO.
what?
Diary of a CEO.
Oh,
I really
this
like
guy?
this guy's stuff. Yeah, his stuff is real good.
I hate him personally. No offense. He's annoying, but I like the people he has on.
a government in the last 4 years which has been running a massive, massive deficit. So in that period of time, it appears the government which has been aggressively increasing its deficit has massively overperformed the government which has been aggressively slashing the state. That's what it looks to be from the last. I mean, Joe Biden enormously increased the deficit, enormously. And the Conservatives were austerity government for 14 years. Which one seems to have given the better numbers?
Well, I mean, they were austerity in name only. They went from 30%, the state was 30% of
So do
GDP
you
to
think
45% of
government
GDP.
services are better funded now?
The government is terrible at doing most things. That's the problem. You don't want
You don't
government.
think that spending on government services has been slashed?
Let me zoom out
Do
a
you
little
think police spending's been slashed?
Oh, police spending is
Do you
definitely
think education
slashed.
spending's been slashed?
Do you know where it ends up? It ends up with like big corporates, big consulting, who get paid $50 million to produce a report to tell government something. Right, all of these big, I won't name names, but all the big consulting firms, they're all bloodsuckers to government. They know that the money's in the government, and they set up business models to extract that money from government. And it also is in the financial trading side of things. One of the issues that we've got, right, and this is a big issue as well, because you care about wealth inequality. One of the biggest issues I see is that during the pandemic, we all learned to work remotely, and remote work became the norm. And what I see at the moment is huge amounts of what would have been normal British jobs are going to the Philippines, going to India, going to Vietnam, people who work remotely now. We now have 1,000 millionaires a month leaving to go to Dubai. We have 120,000 British people living in Dubai in that economy. The world's become incredibly mobile. And one of the things that's happening is that what would have previously been good British jobs are getting moved overseas to lower cost countries. And that's technology that drives that wedge. The US is very smart in that they've built a technology powerhouse, and the UK has completely lost our technology industry. Our tech industry is in decline, same across Europe. China and the US know that the game is tech, and they're basically pulling all the tech company into their borders. And what's happening a lot is the erosion of good jobs and the erosion of just normal, well-paying jobs because they're going. And it's a bit of a self-fulfilling loop that the more we lose millionaires, the tax burden falls on everyone else, so they put the taxes up, and then the millionaires say, oh, the taxes are too high, so they leave. I've watched some of the most incredible entrepreneurs that you would want here that would employ your sister at a high rate, and they've picked up and left because the taxes are too
So
high.
are you saying we should tax working people less?
Well, the overall government has to be smaller.
Okay.
You can't.
So
Whoever's
what do you want to cut in the government?
if you yeah, well, I mean, you'd have to
Child services?
We'd have to no
Police?
no, well,
Education?
no,
NHS?
all I know is this.
You're muted.
Yeah, Kat, I can't
Damn
hear a
it.
word you're saying.
Sorry. So I was working in like, I guess what would be called social services. I was a social worker, so that's probably the same thing. We had so many programs that would give us millions and millions of dollars, government grants. And then it would be like a grant for like $10 million for like 3 years. And it would be like 2 salaries or whatever at like back then, like obviously like 20 years ago, like 2 salaries for like 65,000. And they would end up pocketing everything and then giving 1 salary for like 40,000 or whatever
Who would
a year.
pocket it?
The organization, because there was just no oversight. Like nobody came to make sure we were using the grant money, why we were using the grant money.
How do I get
And-
some of that grant money?
I don't know. I guess have a non-for-profit and. I don't
Kat,
know.
I'm gonna need. Let's start up a non-for-profit.
Okay. A 501c3.
Yeah, I mean, I know that female-owned companies get perks, so you could be the owner.
Yeah, I remember one year. It was actually 2008. they got so many millions of dollars of different grants. I think from like Obama, he was probably around there. And we had so much money coming in. The people who did the financials were like, this is going to be crazy. And they're like, oh, the economy's bad, guy. No raises this year. And everybody was pissed. And the next day after they announced no raises because the economy's shit, every single person of the higher ups, they came with the same but a different color, high-end BMW, just rolled in. And we're like, yeah, we know exactly where all that money went.
So
They
what
literally
did you work
got
for?
together. Huh?
What did you work for? Is this a nonprofit or for a state department?
It's a
government department?
nonprofit. It's a nonprofit.
Oh, so the courts would so they outsource like family preservation functions and stuff to you? Is that
Different things. I don't want to like trash.
I'm trying to
them or
figure
whatever.
out. I'm trying to ask this without doxing you, but
Yeah.
I'm not really even sure what. Okay, whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, what was the point of that story? I mean, were you just like jealous
Because
or
it's
something?
trying to say like he's saying, oh, you want to like cut this, you want to cut, but there's a lot of things that would qualify as social services that are just mismanaged funds by like the millions and millions and millions of dollars. If this is just one 501c3 and just expand on that, how many there are, we're talking about tons and tons of wasted money.
Where do most of the 501c3s actually get their funding from, though?
I don't know. I'm just talking about
Donations and
ones.
grants.
Government grants typically is the vast majority of the ones that determine which organizations are going to be the big ones and which ones are going to be the small ones, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of the organizations are good stewards of money because the people that donate to them want to know that their money is actually being spent well, right? But the ones that are supported by government grants don't really have that same incentive to be able to make sure that stuff's being managed because they've got all this money flowing in from the taxpayer.
Yeah.
So there's perverse incentives whenever you do stuff like that, and that's kind of like unintended consequences, like your prescription before about like freezing payments. Like anytime that the government intervenes in the free market, there's going to be other things that happen that cause inefficiencies.
Mm-hmm. I remember we had this program that was running for ever since the 80s when they had the AIDS, when AIDS first started and people were actually like passing away from that. They gave this huge program and it was like everyone who qualified for it would get like a rent stipend, food brought to their house, like massage therapy twice a week. They would get a whole bunch of a maid, a whole bunch of services for free from the government. And it got to the point where you no longer passed away from it. So it wasn't end of life care anymore. It was just like you would have it for the rest of your life. And we had people who were in yachts, penthouses, like celebrity type status people who were getting all these services for free covered by the government just because they knew about these programs.
Yep. Perverse incentives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like a year or two ago. Somehow I think I was like renewing my car tags and I ended up kind of stumbling around the state websites and I came across something from like 3 years earlier. Like there was some sort of federal grant to help people who had been laid off by COOF or whatever pay their water bill specifically, and this money never got distributed in enough. So they had this whole S account and they're like, somebody please come take this money for your water bill. And I ended up qualifying for it. I think they gave me like $800. Like I had credit left over, just like bet.
We had a similar program and anyone, even people who worked at the company could qualify at least like, I think it was once every couple months, but we could still qualify. So it was just like a whole bunch of free funds that we would just take from. And if you knew about the programs, you got free money. And if you didn't, then you were screwed. And the thing is, like when you have an actual problem in this country, you need funds for something. You're actually in an emergency. They don't make it easy to find out about any program. So like the people who need it the most are usually the ones who can't figure out the program exists. They don't have access to the program. And the people who are very, they have resources already are the ones who find out about these programs.
So you're talking about like an in conclusion that's occurred after several generations of the American government interfering in the economy and implementing policies that have disrupted things like multi-generational families that would have been able to address things like that, right? At one point in time, grandparents lived with parents, lived with children, lived with grandchildren, all in the
Yeah.
same home. And if that sort of network still existed, a lot of these people who have these issues wouldn't be destitute because they would have a family to rely on. But our entire system has become hyper individualized to the point where people think that they all need to be on their own and separate, when in reality, we actually need each other. But the government has been subsidizing this hyper individualism to the point where people don't do that anymore. Like right now, Kat, like you and Steven should be living with your mom, right? And his parents should move in too, right? Right,
Yeah,
Steven?
but those
Wait,
boomers, they
what?
don't want us around.
They don't want us around. No, we're supposed to go off on our own.
Hmm.
You'll be fine. It's okay.
Figure it
You'll
out.
be fine. You'll figure it out. I'm sure
We
you'll
did
be
it.
fine. And you're not going to get our inheritance. We're going to give it to charity.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst part. They're all giving it to charity.
Well,
What the heck?
you better start stealing now.
No, because you
God.
can't steal, because then it's like, oh no, you'll be fine. You don't need it. You're good. You're fine. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've stolen it, then it doesn't matter what they say.
We should have started like a charity.
Look, that's what I'm saying. I just
This is what we need to
proposed
do.
one. Yes.
Yeah, you could set up a private foundation
Give
that's
the
funded
money
by a
to
single
us,
source.
boomers.
Yeah. You set up a private foundation and take all that inheritance and funnel it into it, and then y'all can manage it.
Right.
Yes.
as board
I hate
members.
my children boomer fund, right?
Well,
We help
You
other
don't-
boomers and screw
Look.
them kids.
you can't like completely shine a spotlight on what they're thinking.
Well, I mean, I'm sure like that's what they're searching on the Googles. They don't know how to like make it nuanced.
What people want is a way to feel like they've mattered, and feel like they've done something lasting, right?
Mhm.
So we can give them that.
A lasting impression, like trauma that they gave us.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
So, Stephen, thanks for providing the proof of life. We've been asking all week for Kat to free you, and it's nice to see you.
I had to climb out of the dirt
Mhm.
in the backyard. She buries me like every weekend, and I somehow get out of it. I had to take a shower and everything.
Sounds like a
All cut off.
fetish.
It could be seen as a fetish.
Yeah.
Only nobody gets off.
Just-
Because it's a lot of work.
Denial. It is a fetish. Is it in the front yard so the neighbors can see, or is it in the backyard?
No, backyard. So
Okay.
the neighbors can't. That's a little bit too much on the nose, because then we're giving entertainment for the neighbors. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of the families wouldn't like it either. Like, God damn it, it's Friday evening, and there they are in the front yard doing their weird kinks again.
Got to be burying the husband. That's right. Yeah.
It is what it is.
If she starts burying the cat, we're gonna go. We're done.
Just up to its neck, so it can still breathe.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, Peony, what do you think about the economy? Do you think it's easy to get out of? Have you ever been in like real poverty,
No.
or you have white privilege?
I
Have you?
It's not white privilege. It's just living.
Look,
my
if
best
it
life.
even if it is, then live like, yeah. So what? We got privilege. You want some? No.
No, you can't have it because you obviously look like you cannot have that privilege.
Nice. So, anyways, do you think that it's easy for someone who's like in abject poverty to climb up?
No, it's not easy. It takes work. That's why
Yeah,
it's
it
called-
does. That's what most people don't want to do. They want to blame other people for their problems. They don't want to actually put in the effort to do anything. So, is this a top 10% panel? Like we're top 10% income earners?
What would qualify as 10%?
What bracket are we talking about? What part of the country?
Well, okay, you make more than six
Globally,
figures.
yes. Okay.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Make more than six figures?
yeah.
I mean, not at this current time. I don't. Fuck no.
Not right now.
Oh,
I have made more than six figures. I've also, I've made alls and nothings. Right now, nah. YouTubing doesn't pay quite what banking did.
I thought you were rich, Kat. You're going around acting like you're all rich and everything.
But you're one of the
well,
poors.
She
I am
came
poor.
from
Nobody freaking like said, "Are you rich?" They just assumed.
and
You do have kind of a rich girl like aura or something.
Yeah, you look expensive, Kat.
Well, my father comes from wealth, but he was first generation to lose it right when I was born. Yay.
yeah.
Yeah, the thing about wealth
Show
is
us that
sometimes
EBT card.
I'm not that poor. So like I guess like regular.
We're not poor.
You're regular
Right,
poor.
we're not.
She said,
No.
sounding extra upper classy.
The amount of Amazon boxes that come through our doorway.
Okay, how many Amazon boxes a week poor are
A week?
Yeah, how many
No, there's
Amazon?
at least 50. And I'm not exaggerating. 50. At least.
You got to stipulate that I don't leave the house, and all of
No,
our
we don't have to stick to
essentials come in the mail.
I mean, I
besides
think
the
like
store.
I just don't know what like I don't know.
So
I
y'all are
can't think of 50
measuring
things I use in a week.
y'all are measuring personal wealth in the quantity of Amazon box deliveries per week.
Yes.
It's a small portion of it. It's not.
How many boxes you have on your front porch every day is how much wealth you have.
No, it's a small portion. I mean, you still put aside for retirement.
Okay.
Clearly,
we're
wealth
still
is
doing
measured
that. I
in
mean,
Stanley cups.
Oh, Stanley cups. With
That
the
is
lead.
like that's
Oh,
like
geez.
mom wealth.
Do you
You know-
have Stanley cups?
No,
No, because they're toxic.
and it creates a lot of work for people that treat forearm issues. I have a
Also, Americans are so thirsty because they don't know how to hydrate.
Oh, hydrate. Okay, I'm glad you finished that
With pop?
sentence. Because if
If
being
you put
thirsty
stuff-
means other things.
Okay, honey, that's in the olden days. The lingo has changed.
It has?
I don't know. I'm just trying to make him feel old.
I don't know.
I don't think it has.
I heard a thirsty bitch is. a little
Okay.
bit
Whoa.
different.
Classy. We're classy.
I was talking about dogs. What?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Eternal.
Oh, hold on.
You said
She's
thirst
not.
trap?
She's a thirst trap, right? She's out here hunting these YouTube screeds.
Amazon rich. That's the new rich.
Amazon rich.
I like that. I
That
like Amazon.
that is yeah.
Yes.
But it's on the Timu rich. I mean, that's
Timu,
lower
yeah.
class.
We're all Timu rich. Like
I don't measure wealth in consumption like y'all, so I'm a little weird.
that's why
Sorry.
he's the actual rich one.
Yes, that's true. Consumption is not doesn't signify wealth at all. In fact, you shouldn't
Look
be
at it.
consuming.
Look at Imperius down there. He's so angry that he doesn't matter.
I told him not to like go crazy, and he called you a drug dealer, and he just can't handle
Wait,
He can't
adult
let me.
conversation. See,
somebody's
Stephen
dealing drugs?
Shh.
Not
Stephen
anymore.
misses some periods.
No?
You
Oh,
see?
oh, okay.
Not anymore. I did my sentence. I paid my dues to society. Imperius is mad that a drug dealer has more social leverage, more money, and just more of everything than he does. He feels like he
Wait.
deserves it.
But drug dealers, so they are socially connected.
What's
They're
wrong?
connected
Imperius.
to
Well, hold on.
everyone in the society. I think this is important that drug dealers.
He's
they
an
really-
entrepreneur.
Yeah, they're entrepreneurs. They talk to people. They know how to talk in low voices. They know how to like pass things off. You know,
Organizational
they know,
management.
Yeah.
right? You know, they know how to
Imperius,
scale. What is wrong with this?
There's nothing wrong with being that. He's just an entrepreneur. Why are you so mean?
It's a man trying
Not
to make
everybody
money for
comes
his
from
family.
wealth and goes to an Ivy League or whatever top whatever.
I don't think
university.
Imperius has either. I think he's just full of shit.
Tuna can rich.
Well, I don't know. Like, I actually was agreeing with what Imperius was saying about microeconomics versus macroeconomics. If you look at it from a historical perspective, the Austrian school is the one that invented the modern conception of microeconomics, and it was very focused on individual human action in its inception. Whereas the macroeconomics is more about economic modeling, and that's a system that's more akin to
They're-
Keynesianism, which is not. He
They're
was
all
making
models. They're
Well-
all models, and they all deal with the same influences.
Well, I mean, microeconomics uses models. That's true. Like the modern conception of microeconomics.
All
but
of them use models.
well, not the heterodox Austrians. The Austrians don't. They use praxeology.
I'm not familiar with the word praxeology, but all of it is model. It's all theoretical modeling
Yeah.
of what
Well-
people will do with scarcity and resources.
Yeah.
So whether you're looking at individuals or at companies or scaling it up to governments, you're still dealing with models of incentive in the face of scarcity.
Oh, Empiricus is in his feelies.
He's gonna be okay.
I'm gonna switch to my Imperius avatar.
Is it a crying child? I mean, to properly switch to your Imperius avatar, you'd have to leave the panel.
Make sure you remove the pinky. He just insulted the Yakuza. He didn't completely, go overboard with them.
Okay, let's continue, guys.
No, he insulted the local Chinese buffet. Not the Yakuza.
They were hungry.
Pensions,
You go to Switzerland, they spend
welfare for single mothers,
25%.
disabled benefits. What do you want to cut?
Hold up. All I know is in Switzerland,
I'll tell you what I want to do.
the
I
government
want
is
to cut the
25%.
taxes on those entrepreneurs and raise the taxes on the billionaires.
Yeah.
Because I worked my tits off.
You do
How many
have
billionaires
a-
are in the UK?
There's a lot of billionaires in the
It's
UK.
150.
Yeah, so
Yes.
tax them all. What do
They're
they
not
pay?
on
Listen, I worked my
cocaine.
tits off, and I paid. It was
Everyone who
50%
watches
corporate
the
tax.
show is on
50% corporate tax,
cocaine.
plus
Yeah.
national insurance, 60%.
So a million a
To
year.
bring my family out of poverty. At the same time, the Duke of Westminster inherited £10 billion and paid nothing. Do you think that's fair?
That's not true,
Okay, why is it not true?
because the Duke of Westminster is one of the highest taxpayers in the country.
What does he pay?
Well, on the trust, the Grosvenor estate, they don't pay inheritance tax because trusts can't die. They pay something called periodic taxes,
Which is how much?
6% every
How
10
often?
years.
6%, so they pay 0.6%.
That's what I'm
a year.
saying.
So I paid
Just hold
60%,
up.
and this guy pays 0.6%.
Apples with apples. Inheritance tax is 40% across the course of your life. If a trust is, if a person lives who owns a trust for 70 years, then 6% times 7 would be 42. So they actually pay more.
So he pays
inheritance tax.
0.6% a year.
Pro
You're telling
rata.
me 0.6%.
But that would
a
be
year.
the same as
What percent did I pay per year?
No, but that's
60%.
Hold up.
So you're saying I pay what 60 over 0.6?
No.
100
You're not
times the tax rate.
You're not
is what I
comparing
pay.
apples with apples.
Wait, why is it not apples with apples? This
Because-
guy pays 0.6% a year. I paid
No,
60% a year.
That's inheritance
I
tax.
paid that 60%
You're
every
talking
year, Daniel.
income
Every
tax.
year I paid
You're
it.
paying income tax.
So why have I
The
paid?
Duke of
Why
Westminster
do I
pays
pay more
income
than
tax.
him?
The Duke of Westminster pays income tax. He probably makes your bill blush.
Yeah, the Duke pays income tax.
Yeah, well, if he's going to live, he has to withdraw money to have his income. He also, let me give you a list of all
Okay.
the taxes he would pay. He'd pay income tax, corporate tax. He'd pay stamp duty when he buys a building. He pays any of the other taxes, VAT when he spends money.
pays
All the same taxes apply to a duke as they apply to anybody else.
So you think he pays income tax on the income on that?
Any income he draws?
Okay, well, I
he
was
pays
going to
tax.
search whether he pays income tax on his income. Because
Of
I don't
course
think
he
he
pays.
does.
I mean, how could he
It's in a
not?
trust.
He's
It's in a trust.
But the only difference with a trust
Yeah.
versus income is that the trust pays periodic tax versus inheritance
At
tax.
0.6%.
But we're only talking inheritance. That's just
Well,
one.
that's
type
not
of
all
tax.
entirely
he's based-
true.
Yeah,
Like
it's
you-
confusing.
Yeah, no, you can set up complex trusts like intentionally defective grantor trusts that are designed to completely evade taxation. Like it's possible to do, but you have to be super wealthy and have a team of accountants and lawyers draft all the stuff up for you. But there are ways around it.
I'm not entirely sure there are. I keep hearing people say there are, but I've never seen one in action.
Yeah, I have. I'm not going to dox all the stuff that I've done, but
And
I've done lots.
And so that's another right. See, this is another obstacle I run into. Everybody who claims they have seen it,
Intentionally,
they then can't get into it, right?
intentionally defective grantor trust is the vehicle that you use if you want to look that up.
All right. Intentionally defective grantor trust. That's an interesting title right off the bat.
What?
Holy shit. I just searched that and just a regular DuckDuckGo search, and the search result says this site cannot be okay, there we go. My internet's just retarded. And false alarm. I
Conspiracy.
thought the man was just like getting it. All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I've got it saved on a tab. So what's this
Okay.
little dude all mad about? Not Imperius, the guy on screen there.
He's mad about the rich people or something.
Not giving him more of their money. They have it, and I
60%
want
on
it.
his
So
income.
it's
He's
all
one of
right.
the highest taxpayers in the UK. I'm not like his big fan.
See, that's the thing. But like, what they don't say is they pay more tax, but they also have They also make way more.
Yeah.
What about, do corporations? They can like make
Corporations,
write-offs.
Well, it depends on, if you're a C corp, you're going to pay corporate tax, and then the next people, if you own the corporation, you're going to pay tax again. So you're double tax. So you do an S corp. But if you, it's corporations are going to pay much more tax. Yes, they have write-offs for sure, way more than an average.
Everyone
But
has
can't you
write-offs.
use like property depreciation to like make
Yes, for
write-offs? So
sure.
like,
Yeah, you can-
isn't
you
that
can
why they always
depreciate an
buy
asset.
property?
Buy property, say it was depreciated, and or you had losses on the property.
So like, all I'm saying is there's ways that you can use your money to keep more of your money, and then all the money you keep, let's say, and like tons of properties that you bought, you can leverage those properties
But I mean,
to get loans, to start
look,
businesses for everybody in the family.
depreciation is measuring a real economic position, though, right? Because if I buy a new car and then I use it for a year, at the next year, I didn't spend any more money, but I have fewer assets. I have less value in assets because that car is not worth the same thing.
And then you
So
can lease it to yourself.
You can lease it to yourself, but what I'm saying is depreciation is not just a made up thing. It's actually reflective of value loss over time.
Drive it off the lot, you have depreciation.
Right.
But what about for like the house? Like if they buy property,
if you
houses dilapidate too.
Yeah, you can. You bought it at one price and you sold it at another price. That's depreciated.
Yeah, the tax code is complex on purpose. If you've got time or money to hire people, you can use that to your advantage. Most people don't have either of those.
I would always recommend to have an accountant.
I do my own taxes. I have for years. I don't have a very complex financial situation, but I was able. But I've got a financial background and I'm fairly clever. And I was pretty pleased one year. The year I got raided by the sheriffs, I was able to find a loophole. That was the last year before they closed the loophole, and I deducted everything I forfeited in my plea deal, everything that was destroyed during my raids, all that stuff I was able to deduct as a one-time casualty event.
That's good to know.
What? Wait, so you really were a drug dealer?
So they closed that loophole. That the next year they changed the requirements for something to be a casualty event, as it has to be declared a federal emergency. So you can't do that anymore.
So as a drug dealer,
you can make write-offs.
You can have write-offs against lost product.
Well, so I didn't do that, but in my plea deal, I forfeited about I deducted them for $100,000, but I did it conservatively on my taxes that year. About $150,000 gun collection is one of the things that they seized, and I forfeited in the plea deal. Now,
that's easy. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So
you probably could have gotten more.
I probably could have gotten more, but I didn't. I was hitting a gray area because there's if that forfeiture had been part of the sentence or conviction, it would not have qualified because it would have been considered punitive. But since I did it as part of a plea deal, there was not existing case law on how that's handled. So it's an administrative forfeiture. So therefore, I was able to hit that gray area loophole and claim it as a one-time disaster event, basically. But they closed the loophole the next year.
Damn.
But that was pretty clutch. I was pleased. And besides, when you're fresh out of jail and sleeping on an air mattress on the floor, what else you got to do besides read tax code and figure out how to try to flip this one around?
But do you think that somebody who was not as intellectually blessed as you would be able to get out of poverty, learn all these things, be able to? So like, I think that's more what he's saying, because I would imagine that a lot of the people that have the worst time, they not only don't have any family with resources, or they probably have the poverty mindset that's handed down. They probably have they're in a bad neighborhood, bad school, bad people around them. And then on top of that, they might not be as intellectually blessed as some other people.
Yeah, life isn't fair.
Yeah. But like, okay, how can you make it fairer for more people? So you don't want it to be. You don't want it to be.
I would not. Why would I? I mean, think about it. Why would you? I don't want to throw away my advantage, and you can't make anybody smarter.
Yeah, you can't.
So I just think that this is a request that nobody has an incentive for.
Do you think that bringing back manufacturing would just end up with them making more robots, or would it end up with people who maybe don't have as high intellect able to support themselves?
There are lots of low-paying jobs that cannot find employees. You can, I mean, I don't know how it is where you're at, but here in Kansas City, you can walk into any convenience store and they've got a now hiring sign on the door. So the issue is not an availability of low-paying menial jobs. The issue is that there's just not the desire for it, nor should. I mean, let me rephrase this. You can be poor and stupid, and have a better quality of life being unemployed and poor and stupid than you can being an employee and poor and stupid. So, I mean, it would. I don't know why anybody would go get a job like that if you can avoid it.
There was a chart somewhere. I was trying to find it. It was. Is it this one? No. Anyways, I'll find it later. It was basically showing the hourly wages and the cost for rent or mortgages, and how one of them was going up like this and the other one was pretty much stable. So I think that's the biggest problem, because if salaries are pretty much stable, but rent is doubling, tripling, quadrupling every couple years, now we have the problem. Now we have a problem where your salary, the same job last year, doesn't pay you to live anymore. And now you need government assistance. That's a problem. But I don't know how you can slow that down.
So on an end of it, for each individual in that situation just needs to recognize that this is their problem. They've got to sack up. That said, as a society, I do agree it's a societal issue. And I mean, that discrepancy can only get so big before it starts fracturing societies. Inflation comes from one source only. And I point this out because they've been trying to sort of jiggle around the definition lately to make it corporate greed or something. The only source of inflation is from literally an inflation in the money supply that devalues each unit of currency, right? So money printing is the only source of inflation. Price volatility is a different thing, but when we're talking about inflation, the dollar devaluing over time consistently, that's from money printing.
Yeah. So anyways, let me get to the end because I want to end it pretty soon. There's one part where they start fighting. Yeah, here we go. I want to hear this part.
I've got a question for both of you, which is, if you are a young person and you're 18 years old now and that you're listening to this, but your objective really is an individualistic one, you want to get rich and you have a great future for you and your family, like all of us have been able to do, what would your advice be to them, Gary, at this moment in time?
This is such a hard question. I know Dan's angry at me for what I put in my video, how to get rich. Somebody came around to my house and asked me this the other day. Obviously, I get asked it a lot because, stupidly, I'm very public about the fact that I'm rich. What I did is not replicable. It's not. I'm sorry, but it's not. People always say, why don't you teach me to trade? It's hard. It's hard trading and it's dangerous. And I think a lot of young men are getting sort of sold into trading and becoming gambling addicts. Work hard. And I wouldn't even say don't become an entrepreneur. I've never ever said these things. Work hard. If you think that you have an opportunity in tech entrepreneurship, go for it. Understand it's risky. I think that sometimes this message, just become an entrepreneur and you'll make it, is a bit dangerous, because I think most people who try to become entrepreneurs fail. And I think it's super, super dangerous. The reality is, and maybe Dan won't like this, maybe you won't like this. I think it is very, very difficult for a young man or a young woman from a poor family to become rich. And I think it's increasingly hard even to just get those basics of financial security. So listen, obviously reduce your spending if you can. Don't buy into this Balenciaga bullshit. Stay away from that. But work hard, study hard, try to get a good job. But also understand, we are shrinking the seats on the lifeboat. That's what we're doing. We used to allow 50% to be secure. Then it's 40%. Then it's 30%. Then it's 20%. You've got family in Nigeria. If a young person from Shantytown in Nigeria came to you and said, Stephen, what could I do to get rich? You would have to say to them realistically, listen, you are in a difficult situation here. You need to work really, really hard. But if you are able to make enough money to support a family, be proud of yourself. What I would actually say to them, so yeah, I have got family in Nigeria. For people that don't know, I'm by blood half Nigerian. I would say to them that knowledge is really your life raft. So obviously there's a big tech boom happening in Nigeria, which is liberating a lot of people from that situation. So I would try and tell them to get on the life raft that is knowledge of this new revolution. So from Nigeria, you can learn to code. And then the great thing now is that we literally have, actually, this is quite interesting. We're building a tech company in San Francisco called Flightcast. It's live. Everyone can go look at it, flightcast.com. And the lead developer, and Guess Radar, the lead developer of Guess Radar is a Nigerian guy. But how many of those jobs in the Nigerian tech sector are going to kids that grew up in the shanty towns.
I have no idea.
Scams.
Because I worked in, people ask me, tell me how to do what you did, all right? I worked in Canary Wharf. It's in East London. I could see the building from my house growing up. There was not a single other kid from East London the whole time I was there.
Do you know, to Dan's point about this remote work revolution, where like work now you can work from anywhere. And in our company Third Web San Francisco, some of the staff that we now have are in the Philippines because they just have like great creatives there. It's obviously more cost effective. Isn't this a huge part of what's going on in our economy? This digitalization and this remotification of work.
It is. But I think for many people, you know, I'm sure you pay your workers in the Philippines very, very well. Most of these people, they used to have a half decent wage in an office, and now they're locked in their bedrooms, barely paying the bills.
Yeah.
In the Philippines?
Not in the Philippines. The Philippine guys are balling out.
No, I'm saying the Philippines is booming at the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
So you think the average person in the Philippines is living a luxurious life?
what's happening at the moment?
Do you think the average
Look,
person in the Philippines is living a luxurious life?
There is this thing called remote foreign workers, and this is a huge boom. And the economic
So
boom.
the kids should move to the Philippines then. It's great. You get a great quality of life in the Philippines. You know, when I looked at the slums of Manila, they should just get jobs. I don't know why they're not getting their laptops out.
The
poverty in the Philippines is horrific. Listen, Philippines is a beautiful country, an amazing country. I love the Philippines.
But
I've been a
money's
number of
flowing
times.
in there at a rate that's
But
never
what
been.
is the life like for your average Filipino?
Well, would you agree though that their economy is just getting flooded with money at the moment? Like money's flowing in there.
Money is flowing in, but it is not giving a good quality of life for your average Filipino.
That's not true. Remote foreign workers.
Well, we can
remote foreign
ask
workers
our Filipino viewers to tell us what's that
remote
life
foreign
like for
workers
the average.
can actually often support their
We can
entire
have a look.
family.
I don't know what the average wage is in the Philippines.
Just to bring it back to this point though, so I wanted to know from Gary. He said work hard if you're a young guy listening to this now. I was reading this really interesting article yesterday from I think it was from a major newspaper talking about the Lost Boys. And it goes to show that I think it's 1 in 7 young men that is at a working age now are out of work. So there's lots of talk around young men in particular and how they're struggling. You'd say work hard, Gary. You'd
Work
say
hard, no Balenciaga. But the big
No
thing
Balenciaga.
is recognize the situation that you're in. And I would encourage them to support my work and follow my channel because the lifeboats are shrinking. And trust me, we're going to get our kids in the lifeboats. We all know that, all right? And if those lifeboats are shrinking, if you don't stop the ship from going down, it is not you and me who are going to go down. We'll be fine. If you don't fight the political fight, I guarantee you, people like Daniel will.
So you're saying that they should also get involved in political fights?
You have to. That's what our grandparents did.
And
That's
if
what our
they
grandparents
want to become millionaires like you and me and Dan.
Well, it sounds like Dan's got better advice for that than I do.
Okay, well I'm going to ask Dan as well, but I'm wondering how your advice ties into sort of like the young person who's trying to liberate themselves from where you came from or where I came from.
You know what? I don't think I'm the guy to say that, man, because, you know, I had this unusual gift from a young age. I was very, very, very good at maths, and I just followed that. And you know, my sister, she's a poet, and she wrote a really successful grime and musical about Dizzy Rascal's first album. All right, she comes from obviously the same family as me, poor family. She works so hard. She works so hard. 2 degrees. She can barely pay the rent. All right, so I don't want to turn around to our young kids and say, "Well, I've got this talent. Follow your talent," because it doesn't work, Stephen.
True.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Wait, my sister does great work, but financially, for young people, following your passion, following your talent, unless you come from a rich family, realistically, very, very rarely works. And I know it worked for the 3 of us at this table. Let's not pretend that everyone experiences the same thing.
So I think the issue here is that this guy has a selfish, entitled mindset.
Why?
Because he feels like people are entitled to be compensated for whatever they do with their life, or that's some sort of an injustice that his sister, who I think he said she writes poetry or some shit. He's ignoring the fact that the way that you make wealth is by providing something to somebody else of value. Nobody gives a fuck about his sister's poems. He thinks that that's unjust because she deserves to be wealthy too, but she has not provided anything that other people value. It's about creating value for others, not for yourself.
So what would you tell young people who maybe they're not as intellectually savvy, but they're young and they want to get out of poverty?
I would say look for people complain, right? Keep your ear to the ground for complaints. If you can find a way to solve a problem for somebody, they'll compensate you for it. Her poems are shit. Right. Even if they might be the best poem ever written, who gives a shit? Nobody, like, how many people
if there's no market for her poems, it doesn't matter.
Right. I really like making snow angels. Nobody's going to pay me to make snow angels.
Unless it's with...
No, stop. Like,
this guy's now trying to find a new drug dealer. The sunglasses inside are making more sense now. I see you.
oh gosh.
True dark.
Do you disagree though that here on me? Do you disagree that this guy is selfish and has an entitled worldview to think that everybody deserves even high compensation for doing what they want to do?
I think he worded it wrong. The whole thing about poetry needs to make a living wage is ridiculous. But I do feel like there should be jobs, menial jobs that can at least make a person not live on the streets if they don't have the intellect. Like if they're just like a little bit lower average intellect.
There are a lot of, I mean, I believe that if you have good character and a desire to live a normal, productive life, it is almost impossible in our society for you to fail at that. I think that most of the people, I mean, there are some exceptions, especially now because the economy is kind of volatile, but most of the traditional homeless population are there by some sort of choice, either because there are actually people who enjoy the nomadic lifestyle, or there are people who at least enjoy it better than they would having to conform to societal's standards for what they'd have to do in order to qualify for handouts.
I do think that there's something that should be said that, we did have slavery before.
Oh God, are you saying that it's coming back? Oh my gosh.
The surplus population.
I think we are in slavery right now because if we weren't to work, we would not be able to live.
Define that as slavery would be like if you stopped working in a month, you'd be homeless.
Hold on, let me help it. How about I think I might be with him almost.
Yeah,
almost, because with income tax, which for everybody, it takes the top of your income and then gives you what's left. You don't get the first say or claim on the fruits of your labor. And with the war on drugs, you don't get first decision on what you do to your body. So that's soft slavery.
But the point that I'm making about the slavery part is that we have no choice but to work. If we don't work,
if we don't come from wealth,
if you come from wealth, fine, you're not a slave.
I mean, that's just part of life, though. Every living organism has to exert effort to survive.
But
yeah, but like
thinking about true
society
freedom,
is the one that made you say like you need to own this house. You can't live in this piece of land unless I give you the rights. But there's like animals that just roam wherever they want.
Okay, but let's go back.
Why can't we just go back to that?
Wait. We can't. But let's go back to when there was American frontier.
Oh no.
And they came to the new land.
Oh no.
They kicked out all these people, unfortunately. But anyway, they came to the new land. They didn't have.
So are you saying they wanted
tilled the land
fair and square?
No, I didn't say that. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is that they came to this land and they tilled the field. They made their vegetables. They hunted their animals and everything, and they were not required to work except for to keep their,
Oh yeah. After they got their land, they didn't have to pay anymore.
That's a lot of work. That's a ton of work.
It is work, but then you weren't required to and if you didn't work, yes, you wouldn't make your
I
food,
think what you're saying is that you're required to interact with the financial system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's it'd be,
and I can agree to that to some extent, because if you are forced to interact in the dollar-based system, right? And you know that dollars are being inflated because they siphon wealth out through inflation.
Without our choice.
Yeah, you are forced to interact with a system that scams you. That's soft. It's not bondage, but it sure does seem like it meets the qualifications of soft slavery.
And then we're workers, so we have to go to a factory. Not I do, but I own my own business, so I don't have that. I don't really truly feel it, but one could say I feel a little bit. But those people that have to go to the factories, those people that have to go to the store 9 to 5, all these things. And it was all started in the early 1900s.
Like if we could go back to when we had like family plots of land and you just build your house on the family's plot of land and everybody helped raise the children together as a family unit. Now, people married into families, married into their land.
But then we have to think about people that are warring, people that are wanting to take over your land. We're paying for protection.
we always had like the pew-pews, and
I mean, there's like you're giving up security, which if you want security, you have to go have freedoms. So we're giving up security of defending your land and of other countries taking over your land, or your neighbors taking over your land. So yeah, I understand that it needs to be there, but we are still enslaved to the system.
Yeah, no, I mean it's hard to argue against that.
Oh, who's crying?
It's some pussy.
Oh, don't say that on the internet.
What? Cat.
See, it's like ridiculous. Anyways, I want to see like the last
Things to be
part.
experienced.
What would you say to that, Dan? And what's your answer?
I think there's two economies going on at the moment. There's a dying economy, which is the Industrial Revolution economy, and that is all the office jobs and the factory jobs and all of that sort of stuff, which is very much being automated away and moved to globally. And at the same time, there's this new bubbling up digital economy, which I'd call the entrepreneur economy or the digital economy. Both of these economies are kind of coexisting. One's going like that, one's going like that. And if you want to be economically successful, you need to stand next to the biggest piles of money that you can. Unfortunately, being a poet doesn't pay a lot of money, and we all know that. That's not a surprise. If you came from a very rich family and you were a poet, you'd probably be one of the 60% who fell out of a rich family as well. If you want to be economically successful, you need to say, what is the thing that's economically booming right now? Gary saw the finance industry at that particular time, but if we actually look at the finance industry now, it's in decline, and trading is being replaced by AI robots. People who worked in your career are going to be replaced by IT systems that basically do similar jobs. It's going to be, these things happen. We're going through a massive technological change. But at the same time, it's never been easier to learn skills for free on YouTube. It's never been easier to join communities where you can get mentoring and get support. There are communities of angel investors who do invest in startups. It's never been cheaper or easier to start a company. There's never been more software and technology to scale and grow. In just in a short space of time, I would say do what Gary's done. Gary publishes online. He's built a personal brand. He's attached it to a recurring revenue model. He's got.
I also work for free for 4 years. So I'm not sure how replicable that is.
So build a personal brand, attach it to a business model that is where money's flowing. These are positive things you can do. We all have to play the cards we're dealt. You can always find someone who's done better with better cards, or someone who's been dealt better cards, and you can always find someone who's been dealt worse cards. No matter who you are on the planet, there's someone better, there's someone worse. You have to play the cards that you're dealt. You cannot sit around waiting for the economic system of the world to be changed. You have to say, you know what? These are the cards I was born at this particular time, in these circumstances. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. I'm going to play the cards that I've dealt. Personal agency is what gets people to feel good about their life, to make progress. And as soon as you play the victim mindset, as soon as you say, oh, you know what, the answer to all my prayers is Gary's going to change the system, you're in serious trouble.
Can I just say one thing back on that? If we become a society of individuals who think only individually and never consider broader societal problems, we will become a society that becomes unable to fix societal problems. I'm somebody who has made millions of pounds betting on the collapse of society, the collapse of the middle class. I don't want to be giving stock tips on the Titanic, okay? I understand that we live in individualized societies, and it's not popular to say, hey, you need to protect your society. If you don't protect your society is going to collapse, and the British public, the American public, have a choice to make here.
What would that look like? What do you want people to do?
I want them to get involved with, watch my channel, subscribe to my channel
what's your content?
On YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, share it with your friends, share it with your mum,
Okay, but then what?
And then push for change. Push for change like our grandparents did. Push the politicians to tax working people less and tax extremely wealthy wealth holders more.
So vote for the Greens.
Vote for whoever gives you that, whoever gives you your share of the pie.
So basically,
listen, this is not football, okay? I'm not here, Gary Stevenson, member of the Green Party.
ultimately,
I'm here to protect the working class.
So that's their that would be their social and sort of political energy. Would be to stand up and fight. But in their personal lives, are you telling them to start businesses, take big risks, work really hard, go for it, because they can also...
I'll defer to you guys on that. I'm not a businessman. I'm an economist. That's what I am. I make my money by being an economist. I'm a very, very good economist. My predictions will be right. People can go and watch my predictions. At the beginning of COVID, I predicted the entire COVID crisis exactly correctly in May 2020. This is, I'm good at this. And listen, I'm never going to come here and say I'm a better businessman than you. I'm pretty sure that I'm not. I'm a very, very, very good economist. This will happen.
Is there something that I can do? If I'm sat here listening at home, I understand everything you said. I believe everything you said. I believe that it's going to get worse for me. Yeah. Do you think I should still take responsibility of my situation and fight to make my life richer, better, more successful?
100%. Okay. 100%. Because you know, and I'm sure you know, if you're average British or American, if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to turn the heating on. You have to do it. You have to do it. And I've never once, and I think my opinions are often mischaracterized as being anti-ambition. You've read my book. Do you think I'm anti-ambition?
No.
I work my tits off to make money, and I want every single young person in this country to be able to make money if they want to, if that's what they want to work towards. But we've created a society where it's almost impossible for young... Listen, I've been there. I've been at LSE. I've been at Oxford. I've been in the city. I've been in the media. I've been in politics. All of the guys at the top are a bunch of rich idiots. We are not allowing these smart kids from ordinary backgrounds to get into those spaces. Why do we pretend we're not doing that? We're not doing that.
I disagree with that. You're talking about two types of elite spaces. Elite space of elite universities.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the elite space of derivatives trading. There's the real economy, where entrepreneurs do their work. Then there's the first derivative, which is the banking system, and then there's the second derivative, which is rates traders like yourself, right? These are places that normal people don't want to end up. Most normal people who grow up in normal households don't wake up one day and say, I want to be a rates trader on a double derivative of the economy making bets. Most people want to start a business that employs people, and they want to grow that business and be successful.
Do you think that starting a business is a realistic high success probability chance of ordinary poor people becoming rich.
I know that economies thrive when entrepreneurs are active, and it's not just the entrepreneurs, they create
Is that a thing
opportunity.
that our viewers can do, and most of them will end up rich?
You only need 1% to improve the whole economy.
There's a really interesting stat that says globally around 65% of ultra high net worth individuals are self-made. Approximately 19% primarily inherited their wealth, and about 16% inherited wealth but significantly grew it through their own ventures. So if 65% of the ultra high net worth individuals globally are self-made, does that not mean that if I want to become an ultra high net worth person, it's going to come down to...
Listen, we are just come off the back of the golden age of capitalism, when ordinary people like my dad, I grew up in Ilford, it's in East London, it's a very immigrant area. Most of my friends I grew up with come from Pakistani, Indian immigrant backgrounds. They came over with nothing, they worked really hard, they made money, they had their own assets. We had a period where ordinary people could make money and could make wealth. So obviously we are now in a period where there are rich people who made money during that period. But it's over now.
I'm seeing ordinary people making money all the time.
Okay, so you're telling our viewers they're idiots. Why are they not making money?
I'm not telling anyone they're an idiot. I'm saying
if it's that easy, okay, all right, fine. Go and buy Dan's book, read it, and become a millionaire. Because Dan thinks it's easy to become a millionaire by being an entrepreneur. But I suspect, having not been an entrepreneur, that most of the people who've read your book are not millionaires.
Everything you've touched has turned to gold. You turned yourself to academia, you got an amazing qualification. You turned yourself to banking, you became 2 million a year. You turned yourself to being a writer, you become Sunday Times bestseller. You turn yourself to content creating, you get 800,000 followers. And now you sit there after all of that evidence and say, oh no, it's all over, guys. It's all, I'm smart enough to do it, but you guys are not smart enough to do it.
If you think you can teach, you've got your book. If you think you can
teach, you say that you're smart enough, but they're not smart enough.
I wonder if we do have a bit of an education problem at the heart of this, because I was thinking about your sister, and I was like, right, if I was the CEO of Gary's sister, what would I do?
Yeah.
There's two things I'd do right now. The first is, okay, what marketplace is really valuing an ability to write an impactful way? I go, right, she needs to start an Instagram page, because I've seen what happened with Jay Shetty. This guy.
All right, I think I'm good with that. What do you think, Peace? Do you think the economy is going to get better or worse in the future with AI?
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Why would it get
Do you
better?
think the average person can start a business? The average IQ,
No.
average
The sheep
wealth?
can't. I'm sorry. The average person does not have the ability.
The goy.
Oh no, we don't say that.
Does not have the ability to. No, you can start, but run it successfly.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on your finances.
Yeah,
Keep
because
an
it's
eye
like what,
on your
9 out of
mistakes.
10 fail or something.
I have classmates that they started businesses.
Oh yeah. Talk about that. Okay,
And-
you guys all graduated same degree.
And
How many
Uh,
from the class, and how many were
actually, I
successful?
haven't
Just
been in
estimate.
contact.
Just estimate. You know.
I would say there were truly successful.
Yeah.
or,
Truly, not like
Um,
okay. And in the same field, not they change careers because that doesn't count.
3 of them.
3. What was a graduating class?
It was 10. We were a very tiny class.
Okay, 3
Very
out
tiny
of
class.
10 chance, even with the same degree and same opportunity.
No, okay, but 2 of them were retired. Come on, they were older already. They didn't do. They did
Okay,
it for
fine.
fun.
Take those out.
And then, but there. I mean,
And one of them, she was the daughter of the most famous of that type of person.
yeah, and
So she had she was inheriting. a
The way that
practice.
you guys are being very specific and vague at the same time is
Yes.
irritating.
I know. Thank you.
no, but there's some that were very business savvy, and
There was that criminal one that he did well.
I don't know how well he's doing.
Crime is a short-term success strategy, but it's a long-term failure strategy. In any sort of crime in any industry, really.
But the people starting a business, it requires always monitoring. Not like you make money. Yeah, okay. You have your highs and your lows. You have to you have to understand that, and you have to put aside for the future. And I told all my classmates, I said, put money aside just in case something happens. And one of them came back to me years later and said, I'm so glad you told me that, because I went through a really rough year, and if you hadn't have told me that, I wouldn't still be in business. So
other ones kept spending
they just spent
everything
it,
they
and then
owned.
One of them told me, I should have listened to you. She was very young. I should have listened to you. I should have put money aside. I listened to my husband's cousin, and she didn't do it right. It was just what the, and my brother-in-law is a financial advisor. That does help, yes. But I already was doing tiny businesses before then. And you have to plan, you have to pay attention. You can't just do the 9 to 5, and it's not 9 to 5. It's 24/7. You have to take a break, but it's work. And if you love doing it, which I do love doing, I mean, there's
Well,
negatives.
not everybody can do something they love,
But-
though.
Okay, that's why it's called work. Work is things you don't want to do, but you have to do it anyway. You can do your passions on the side. You want to do poetry on the side, but you have to make.
You want to
have
write
do
your
work.
shitty poetry that no one wants to read?
Or find someone that is willing to fund you. Go fund me, you know,
Patreon.
OnlyFans,
Make a
whatever.
Okay,
you could do
so-
OnlyFans,
all right,
know,
so
reading
we've
poetry
decided.
while stroking a cat. And so just
What did you type in the chat that was auto blocked?
The N word.
oh,
What the hell?
Don't worry, it didn't go through.
You too?
Well, Imperius is intentionally conflating what my concern is. He says flow state's scared of the N-word, when obviously I'm concerned about my monetization. So,
Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah. He intentionally doesn't understand what the concern is.
it's a business. You
Mhm.
have to do within a certain set of rules to keep that business going.
yeah, it's Imperious.
Like,
This is why we are self-employed and Imperius isn't. He has a boss.
and but even when you're employed by other people, you still have to go by their rules. Now you got a little bit more wiggle room until you're fired. Then you're screwed. Because guess what?
It's
You got to
Imperious
find
cooking.
another job. If you have your own business, there's no quitting. I mean, you can quit. That's stupid. There's no quitting. There's always going forward. There's learning from your mistakes. You work for someone else, you could make a mistake and then that business eats it. But if you make enough mistakes, you're not working for that business anymore. So in the end, you still have to like learn from your mistakes. Don't make those mistakes. They can be costly or not. And the younger you are, the more mistakes you can make. If you don't have a family, you can make those mistakes. If you have a family that is relying on you, you do have to be careful, much more careful. You
Okay,
cannot
so
make
look,
those risks.
let's be honest. If you lost your ability to do your career, would you start an OnlyFans?
No. Oh, no, I wouldn't.
We should really be talking to you about that. Would you pimp him out?
I would.
She would
I
do it
figured
in
you
a
would.
heartbeat. Even if the corpse is dead,
She
she'd
seems to-
find a way to get a heartbeat out of it to make sure she'd do it. She would do it for sure. Because
These kids
me-
got to eat their Soylent Green.
That's right, you know. And then she would probably force me to do, you know, some sort of
Gay porn.
I don't know what she'd have me do. Just whatever the algorithm is telling her, she would have me do it. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna do mukbang today.
What about like some feet pictures? Can we start you off with an ankle?
Nobody wants to see that. Martial arts ankle? No.
Look at the. You know that there's what's it called? Like a filter you could get that turns you into a girl
Why would I do?
To
Hey,
make-
ladies.
to make money, and there's a voice filter so we can turn you into like
How
a sweet.
How about we just do an AI?
No, but you gotta
doesn't have to be me.
move. You have to move.
Tell the AI.
The AI has to be like a natural
Yeah,
movement.
AI can do that. That's
No,
fine.
it can't. You have to be interacting with your fans. You need to be able to do that. It's very important for the what's it called?
Community?
The community, for the interaction. It has to feel real. That's what they're paying for.
That's how we tweak the AI. We tell the AI what it wants to do. We don't have to be a slave to the system anymore. We are now free with AI.
God.
But-
So, yes.
What? Hey, you know how nobody could read a map anymore? How in like 10 years,
Mhm.
Google Maps has made us completely dependent on
That's
its little-
scary.
right. Now think about what AI is going to do for our brains.
Mm,
Our heads are just going to atrophy off within the next 20 years.
Yeah.
because we won't have to remember anything. I mean, what? Okay,
Or
what was the
think.
last time you memorized someone's phone number?
Oh, it's been years. I haven't done it since cell phones came out.
Neither
But
have I.
I think the difference with AI is these language models actually do writing for you. And the process of writing and articulating your thoughts out formally helps you understand it better and think about it. So it's actually bypassing a whole ass thinking process, not just storing a phone number.
Which is limiting creativity. I find it annoying when it's trying to complete my sentence and like, that's not what I wanted to say. Like,
Mm.
stop, please. So I intentionally shut that off because I don't think along. I suppose I don't think along the lines of an average person. Maybe
Meh? What?
like when I'm typing out something, I'm making a message. It's trying to complete it for me, and it,
You need to
it never actually predicts what I'm writing.
You need to use ChatGPT
I-
and become friends with it, and then it's gonna know
Become
exactly.
friends
Yeah,
with
it's
it.
gonna know exactly what you're into, and it's gonna like spit that back out. It's gonna know
It'll
how
be
to write
like-
your emails. Mhm.
It'll be like, here's your Asian persuasion compilation porno playlist, sir.
Are you feeling depressed lately? Well, we have
God.
Kauai. for
What if
you.
it freaking like did
That's Facebook Messenger that does that shit. I swear to God, uninstall Facebook Messenger from your phone for a while and see if it doesn't get way less creepy in a hurry.
Oh, I don't use the messenger. It accesses my contacts. It's a violation. Can't do that.
that? Violation
So,
I get
how
so
long have you
pissed.
been a Fed for?
of what?
How
A
long have you
Fed?
been a Fed for? With the it's a violation
Fed?
if you can access my contacts. Yeah.
No. HIPAA.
Yeah,
Really? That tight? Like you can't even
Yeah.
have
Oh.
apps that could access your phone
it's
contacts?
super tight.
No, yeah. No
it
way.
won't even.
In fact,
I mean, because your phone contact. I mean, maybe if you put them in as customers specifically.
no. Any name
Mhm,
that
and
that
numbers.
is connected in any way to the practice
Yeah.
cannot be given to anyone. And in fact, HIPAA is if there's an organization that needs to be dismantled,
Oh God, here we go.
it's HIPAA. They drive up our costs like crazy. Now, not to say that it isn't necessary. Maybe they're going through all these hoops because they're afraid of the CCP grabbing our, information.
Just finding out
That
how
makes sense.
unhealthy we are. But who cares?
No. because-
Everybody's got
no, well,
diabetes.
you've
Big
got
whoop.
all of their private information is there. So you do have to protect it. And I don't have any information on the
Okay,
cloud.
calm down.
Nothing.
Don't say anything publicly. Just relax.
No, it's not on the cloud.
I was when I was a banker. Yeah, I get it. The banking industry is one of those things also where there's just like massive compliance burdens and costs that get passed around to the customers.
Siberius, can you calm your butt cheeks? Jesus.
His butt cheeks are very uncalm,
They have been open for a while.
wide open. I'm really excited to see if I'm banned from Chaotic Truth next time, or if he can afford to pay the $100 to get himself unbanned from my channel. Seems like he's probably poor though, and doesn't have any social influence. I gotta jump off and make some return some calls, but real quick before I go, I don't believe that it's possible to be anymore in America to be or attain wealth of any significance unless you're self-employed. Do you agree with that?
There's a few CEOs
Yeah. No.
outside of that, which is rare, and you probably have connections.
There's other people like.
What occupation is there that you think it used to be a doc, but even anymore, I don't even know that I think doctors who work for hospitals.
How can you become a lobbyist?
That
That makes money. Oh my gosh, I know people in pharmaceutical sales just because they have big fake boobs. Tons of money. Tons of money.
I would
They're
love
old
to
too.
interview them.
They're old now.
Well, how old?
My age, they're old. It's not where it used to be. You know what I mean?
To make money. I mean, I know people that have worked for. I know a guy who worked for a pharmaceutical company, but on the side, he would purchase properties, renovate.
There it
them.
is. That
He
was
did
the
shit
thing.
on the side.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I should rephrase the claim. Maybe not though, because his wealth was not attained by his job. His salary didn't get him there. His side activities did.
Yes, but he used the money from the salary to
So, anyways,
that.
I'll agree with that. I phrased the observation sloppily, but basically, I
No,
don't.
but
think
you're
it's
right.
even-
I agree that if you don't do stuff for yourself to make your own money, if you're just reliant on the companies that you work for, you're not going to be able to.
In most cases,
90%, let's say, of cases, you're going to have a lot of difficulty with growing and building wealth.
Did you just lean over
Alrighty.
and smell him?
No, the little midgets.
Okay.
The midget wanting to do. I don't understand what the hell.
There's a midget strip. It's the only all small person like traveling stripper show, and they're coming to like an hour away from me in a week or two.
Nice.
I'm
Nice.
They're short on time.
For a brief second, I considered like trying to grift that and like, do people want to? But I don't want to go to that. I think that midgets are creepy. I don't want them to touch me.
I don't know.
I mean, it could be fun.
All right. Well, thank you for having me up. Salute to the chat.
Alrighty.
Except for Imperious.
God.
You know what? Actually, I'm gonna unblock Imperious from the chat so that if you want to come cry in my chat, you can. You've been doing it here all night, so it's apparently something you like. All right. Salute. Oh yeah, I put my wish list backstage for you too.
Yeah. It's a no-go, but okay. Alrighty, guys. So I think we're going to end it here. I'm going to go see what Grid's doing. I don't know if I'm going to pop in, but I'm going to try. So if you guys are still looking for something to watch, go check out Grid. He's doing a debate, 5 minutes, something like that style thing. But anyways, other than that, good luck and hope you make money and stuff. Got anything to say?
Nope.
All right. Bye.
Adios.
The link. Oh wait, I have to give Grid's link. Grid. It's at the unreasonable man. Bam. Okay. Where is it? Is it this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess it's this one. All right, guys. Here is the link. Go check out Grid. What? I got it. All right. Anyways, bye everyone. Feel better, Imperious.